was kind of a dream to play esports.
Hello and welcome to the Blade and Soul Europe.
I wanted to compete in Korea. That was like my goal, in top of EU. And then I achieved that, and it was really exciting to be there.
To be honest, we didn't expect to win regionals. We were like, yo, we can actually do this.
That's what I mean, 10 out of being 10.
And it motivated us, and we like kept going, and we wanted to prove that we can stand our ground against people, right?
I just told myself I will be there one day. Looking up to good players in EU, I got better myself, got into the community and helped each other out, improved over time.
You learn more from a loss than from a win. Play to improve, not to win.
Get good, make a team, and have a great time with us.
It's a great experience.
To every player that has come this far, I have seen your commitment. I have seen your sacrifices. All of this. This is for you.
Hello everyone and welcome to day one of the Europe second preliminary for the Blade and Soul World Championship Qualification Tournament. My name is Bunch and I am joined by, once again, of course, the most dashing of gentlemen, Barney, who at the very least reveal a secret of how he gets his hair to be so pretty right before we started. I do know he has multiple brushes to make sure he gets that up, keep going. But nevertheless, how are you doing, Barney?
I'm doing very well. It's really hot. It's really hot. So if it seems like my hair is sort of naturally flowing, it's because there is AC on me. So pay it no mind. It's not that important. What is important is the matches coming up here today.
Well, I thought it was just your majestic hair. But anyway, as you said, the matches are really important right now because after the first preliminary tournament, we did have two teams qualify their way through that particular rounds, and it was Goblin Spiders and Team Bai that eventually made it out. Of course, this time around, we will have two more teams that will be advancing off into the grand finals, which will be held on LAN at the ESL UK studio on the 26th of August. The matches set up will be set for up until the finals and semi-finals, where it's gonna be first team who gets to 6 points or more will claim those victories. But Barney, in terms of the pricing and what these teams are fighting for, talk to me a little bit more about it.
Oh, well, they have a lot to play for. You see, in that finals tournament that will be happening on August 26th, they have a chance to win $21,500 US. But of course, if you find yourself in second place, you still get a very respectable 15,000. Third place, 8,500, and even fourth place gets 5,000. So it's really just, if you get that far, you've already technically won.
Well, and not only that, right? We also have the opportunity to represent Europe at the World Championship on the big stage there as well. Last year, we've seen really what EU and even North America can bring to the table. And I do believe that this year, having already so many strong teams coming up, it's going to be very interesting to see how they will be able to perform. I mean, even talking about today, it's so surprising to see teams like Bad Intentions not make it through for the first qualifying tournament. And now, as you can see, the first matchup of the day will also be between Team Playlist and Team Timeout. These are two, of course, newer teams. We haven't seen much of them the last time around. However, in the side of Playlist, we do have Queen Fairy. And more importantly, for Timeout, Barney, I do believe there's one element of that team that you're very excited about.
Oh, that Soul Fighter! I'm so excited to see it! Even though I'm not exactly... Even though I don't really play Soul Fighter that much anymore, I still love it as a class. I love the changes it got. I think it's actually quite respectable now. I think a lot of people would underestimate just how much power it has right now. We'll have to see exactly how this plays out, especially in a matchup that is probably quite difficult for them against that Blade Master. But you know, I'm still looking forward to it. It's the only Soul Fighter we have. Hopefully they manage to get, you know, at least around to show us what they're made of. But speaking of rounds, you can see the format that we shall be following for today. The regular matches will be sets of 2 1 versus 1s and then 3 versus 3. Should the fourth 1 versus 1 be necessary, that one will occur as well.
And of course, the 1v1s will be awarding the winning team a single point. And so the 3 versus 3, it will be 2. And that's really where things get really interesting, because there's so many different aspects to that environment that really come into play. Not only do you have your team compositions that are very important, as we'll talk a little bit about these two teams in particular. We've seen, yes, you do bring in the Soul Fighter, which you're excited about in the 1v1 department, but in freeze, in tags, you have the aerials, you have some of that sustain, some of that healing that you could bring to the table, especially with the ultimates coming into play and everything else. But what do you think are going to be their main goals in terms of playing around this team composition?
Well, as much as I like the Soul Fighter, as you say, it's not really a fantastic composition for that 3 versus 3. They do have the save in that destroyer, as well as the potential for wallbang. And Soul Fighter can accomplish quite a lot with that wallbang potential, but that's really all that it offers. It doesn't really have any saving potential, doesn't really have too great of an offense either. We've seen how good Kung Fu Master can be in 3 versus 3 thanks to Zappish, but I don't think people are going to be... People have started falling for that less and less these days, so... Against the composition that has that gunslinger in the 3 versus 3s and the assassin, it's going to be very, very, very difficult for Team Timeout to actually find a decent opening if playlists play it correctly.
And in terms of that first 1v1 between these two teams, it will be between Hawkit, which will be playing on the Blade Master, I do believe, versus Linne on that Soul Fighter. Blade Master versus Soul Fighter. This is a matchup where, at the very least, it should favor the Soul Fighter, but what's your overall take on it?
I don't know. I think definitely now that the Blade Master has received their deflect again, you can't just throw stuff out anymore. Before, if you just threw something out and it was blocked, well, that's unfortunate. Better luck next time. I'll probably get him with the next CC. Now you can't do that. If the ability that you're using doesn't pierce deflect, or is completely unblockable, you run the risk of being deflected. And Zay showed us in the first preliminary tournament just how absurd that can be if you're not really paying attention to it. He got something like 5 deflects in that match, and it led to a very, very convincing victory as a result of that. So, yes, could be good, especially with the Howling Blast change for Soul Fighter, but Blade Master is always a bit of a wild card.
And it's going to be interesting to also see the second 1v1 between these two, because it's going to be a Kung Fu Master mirror matchup, which is always exciting to watch. It can really go back and forth in an instant. It's going to really come down to who uses those cooldowns more effectively. But again, these two teams, they're newer in terms of the tournament aspect, in terms of just playing together. As we've seen, even Queen Fairy play under Team No Fake last time around. They did pretty well overall. But it's going to be interesting to note how they'll perform this time around with some other type of composition. And of course, in terms of his assassin play, you can also, previously in the past, seen him on ladder under the name of Trucidator, has been playing for quite a while, and his individual performance is looking good. But what do you think, in terms of the 3 versus 3 aspect, is where would they really need to improve?
It's a very obvious thing to latch onto, but staying alive, as very obvious it seems, it can also be a little bit understated at times. You have to gauge the risk-reward factor of what you're about to do, and if it's not in your favor, don't do it, maybe. Especially with someone with the assassin class who can stall out for such a very long time, is very, very safe as well with the stealth, with 2 escapes, mind you, as well. That's going to be very, very important. And especially Hawkid on that gunslinger in 3 versus 3s, he can actually do a very interesting thing where he can come in, use the vigilance effect for Queen Fairy, and then he gets to use his stealth twice. It doesn't happen too often, but when it does happen, it can be completely devastating if the opponent isn't paying attention to it. And especially with the effect of blinding the opponent for 5 seconds, that's a lot of leeway you get from doing that. So he's a pivotal player. He needs to try to stay alive for as long as he can, buy time for his team to get their important cooldowns back. And the other thing is they have 2 blue buffs, so they need to be careful not to overwrite each other's, because it does give a debuff. And if they use it while that debuff is still on, they get nothing.
And I think that's a very important thing to note in terms of that free versus free aspect, because we've seen in the past, especially with teams like Bad Intentions, they absolutely love resetting Ryuki's cooldowns with Tenna coming in with those assists all the time, just making sure he stalls for that much longer for a favorable setup, of course, overall. But again, it's the 1v1 where we're going to start things off. It's the 1v1 where it's going to matter for both of these teams to see who gets the first point on the board, as they will be ready up soon enough. And as said, it's going to be so exciting to watch all of these teams play it out and see who makes it further, who manages to get there inland to fight off against Goblin, Spiders, and Team Bai. And there's so many good teams to pick from, Barney. It's going to be very tough to just even lash out a guess, if you will. I mean, in a sense, Papiano, they looked exceptional last time around. However, this time they won't be having a Warlock. It's no Fragola wasn't able to participate, unfortunately, but they did manage to get Jiro instead, who is the Rumble in the Realm winner for the 5th one, they believe, in terms of the 1v1s on that Kung Fu Master. And that's going to add an interesting element to that team. They have a lot of cheese potential, if you will, with some of those air launches, some with those very quick kills, which we all know can happen when you have somebody like Zay and, of course, even a Shadow Destroyer as of late. But outside of those guys, we also have teams like Positive Vibes, which I think were one of the potential favorites last time around. They have another rename. Last time around, they were known as 20 Bucks is 20 Bucks. That's Brotabil, Anthrax, and Cymex. And we haven't really talked about the recent summoner changes, but I think overall they should be coming into this tournament out for blood, wanting to get that spot.
Yeah. Just to quickly hit on the summoner changes in the 5 seconds that we have until the match starts. They're good. Summoner changes have been hit on. Let's continue.
It will be the first round of the day. Remember, it is going to be Hawkid versus Linne, Timeout versus Team Playlist. To start it off, Blade Master versus Soul Fighter. See who can get favorable opening so far. Both of them just waiting it out, playing it very patiently. Whenever Hawkid is going to play defensively as well, doesn't want to overextend. Make sure he does mitigate that with the Hongmu block for now, with the Wing Protector, keeping it safe now, launching his opponent up into the air. Already looking really good. Actually going in with the Soaring Falcon of all things and just flash stepping through. Linne in big trouble already. And gets stunned again. Launch at the air. He does have that tab escape, but is it too late, Barney?
It's looking very grim. You can't... He's still holding on to his escape skill. You can't wait that long. You cannot... You have to respect the Searing Slash, but here he goes. Gets maybe a little bit of an opening in with the Frost Storm after the Focus Chi, forcing out an escape from Hawkid. Now, Linne in maybe a good spot if he doesn't get launched, but he does. Unable to follow up. Unfortunately, the Flicker Stun was not available for him. Now, Linne having the focus, the self-defense Chi up now. If he manages to get an opening with that Howling Blast, this could be very, very bad for Hawkid. He's trying to get him. There's the Howling Blast. No defensive abilities available for him. Now knocked down, getting quite a bit of damage onto him, trying to keep him down. The escape skill will be up soon. He's actually equalizing the field very, very nicely. There's the focus again. Launched him again. Maybe a bit preemptively. It's looking very, very close.
Yo! Wow, Linne just playing it so patient. We criticize, or rather, at the very least, I definitely criticize him holding out to that tab escape for such a long time. But hey, he says, I got this. Why are you even worried, Burge? I mean, come on. Easy peasy. Gets that tab escape out of the way, and we just see how quickly the Tides can turn them. With that, Timeout picks up that first point on the board.
He didn't use his escape skill a single time. He held on to it. He was like, I'm fine. Don't worry about it. And in a sense, he can be. He has the self-defense cheat to mitigate some attacks, to, have that iframe. Also heal himself up for 5%. He also has the Chi Burst as well to heal themselves up for even more. Stall for time as well. And it's interesting to note that the bit that I said about Blade Master now having the deflect, Soul Fighter kind of has the means to counteract that with so many unblockables, with the ground ripple knockback disabling defenses for 6 seconds, with Howling Blast just being available, also defense penetration, and disabling defenses for 4 seconds. There's a lot that he can do against Blade Masters if they're not ready for it. We've seen before how Blade Masters can, dance around their opponent very, very elegantly and avoid as many attacks as they possibly can. As soon as they're out of strafes, they're kind of in a tough spot. If they don't have Sword Shroud, you really have to be careful, because the range on some of those skills, especially Ground Ripple, an 8-meter radius, that is very tough to avoid.
That will bring us to our second 1v1 of the day. It is going to be a Kung Fu Master mirror matchup, and surprisingly enough, we have way more Kung Fu Masters and Blade Masters compared to Warlocks, which is very unusual, or Destroyers for that matter. So it's very interesting to see how these two will perform. I mean, generally speaking, I would rate Zappish and Giro right now at the top in terms of the Kung Fu Masters in EU, but we'll see how these two will be able to perform as the round should be good to go. It is going to be, again, Yonihi versus Fijin. Timeout versus Playlist. Can Playlist equalize it right now?
Well, we'll have to wait and see. Trying to open up with that Frost Sheath, but not able to do too much. Trying to predict, maybe. Does actually hit him out of that immediately once he exits the Frost Sheath. Very lucky. Now, trying to get him down. The Searing Palm already applied. Getting good amounts of damage. Looking for the Flying Slam, maybe, but the preemptive escape still denies that. He misses the Rising Dragon from the strafe. Now, Fijin looking to be just completely destroyed. Unfortunately, unable to finish the combination. Yonihi is still in a dominating position, but he needs to be careful. This could turn on a dime.
But very nice reads coming out of him, and now as he gets the air launch as well, 15% left. He doesn't have that second one available. The stun connects, and that is all she wrote. Yonihi, very clean second round to make it a 1-1.
Very, very clean. No health lost, essentially. Rising Dragon did heal him up a little bit, but for all intents and purposes, it was a perfect round. And now, the pressure is kind of on for both teams, because this 3 versus 3 is the only match that matters now. There won't be a second one. There won't be a third 1 versus 1, rather. And now the 3 versus 3. This is where Team Timeout, as we mentioned before, might struggle. With how Linne played, it's entirely possible that, especially with the aforementioned wallbang, that Dragon Fury is strong. It hurts a lot. So you definitely don't want to be in that position whatsoever. If you manage to actually take one out, you would probably rather take out Queen Fairy. That assassin pick, it's too risky to have to be up against that for an extended period of time. There is too much that they can accomplish. They have a lot of crowd control. They have a lot of safety. It's just overall a very annoying pick to play against. So you need to try to get rid of that. Or at least the Gunslinger. Or anyone, really. Just get rid of at least one person. Make it a 2 versus 3 as quickly as you can. And Soul Fighter has the means to do that. But the setup, that's where the trickiness comes in.
So you heard it here first. Best professional tip right here. Just kill them. It's the go-to strategy, I feel like, and hey, it fits for every composition too, so it's wonderful. But in terms of the opening, or rather the opener, who do you think both of these teams will be sending out? I would make a strong case, of course, for Queen Fairy to be the pick for Team Playlist, but what about Team Timeout?
Well, coming in with someone that can ideally deal with any opener. Maybe the Destroyer would be quite good. Of course, if you get that opener blitz, it is defense penetrating. It is a 3 days, essentially, should it land. And as an opener for the Destroyer, it can be incredibly useful. Works against pretty much everybody except for the Assassin, who can go an incredibly safe route of instant flower, instant stealth. But even then, the Destroyer would still have means of dealing with that. They still have the relative safety of Ember Stomp, of their shield. It would make the most sense to me to see Idarians lead the charge. But
all right,
it's hard to say.
It's the thing is, as you said, the fact remains that you still have that Iron Protector, right? You still have those defensive abilities which you really need to assist your teammates, especially in the beginning. As one of the really important things about the tag team format is how you also use your resources. When do you use those assists? When do you tag out? Do you wait out your timer and make sure you keep as much of those resources rolling in your favor? Because that's really what determines at this level sometimes or rather who wins, who can play more patient or use their resources more effectively.
Yeah, it's if you manage to force your opponent to use their tag outs or their assists too early, while being able to keep on hold of yours, then as time goes on, it'll become much harder for them to keep up, and you will be able to force them into a 2 versus 1 position much more frequently, and in a way that would prevent their team from assisting them. Some situations occur, especially with the Destroyer wallbang. When that happens, you have to almost predict it happening to be able to save your teammate from it, because otherwise you go in to help them, but now you're also being wallbanged. So using resources carefully and efficiently is the most important thing to keep in mind in 3 versus 3s.
And we'll see whether or not that Destroyer is going to be the big determining factor here. We've talked a little bit how wonky this composition might just be, but we'll see it come into play soon enough, as both of the teams are ready, good to go. And this will, once again, as said, remember, this will decide who will get to advance through the winners bracket for now, as Team Playlist going up against Timeout, Linne versus Queen Fairy in the opener, Assassin versus Soul Fighter.
Looking for a good opener. He is using the Earth build because he realizes the value of that Ripple Punch. He manages to avoid a lot of the assists in a very good position. Now launched into the air, but still in a not doing too poorly, actually. The pull actually made the flying sniper from his teammate disappear, unfortunately, there. But now Linne really hurt from that blue buff. He has to get out of it. But he already escaped. No.
Oh man, not like this. 100% is the amount of HP everyone on Team Playlist has, so it's gonna be just such a difficult ask of Team Timeout if they're to still somehow win, as so far they are 1 man down. A lot of resources down at that as well. Gets launched at Petit Darian in a very bad spot right now. Damage follow-up isn't quite there just yet, but with the daze, is going to force out that escape. Resistance isn't there. Fury is still available, as he did go for that particular choice for now. So a lot of damage could come through, but is it going to be too late? Actually pops the Fury already. Continues to try and find any damage, but so far, will launch them up into the air. We'll have Pigeon come in instead for Team Timeout.
That maneuver by Hawkid to instantly deflect afterwards and then get that Cyclone available to avoid the entirety of the Fury execute. Oh, beautifully played. And now getting an opener onto Fidget between the counters as well. The Rising Dragon is there. They're going to be in a bit of a tough spot, but his teammate is there. Fidget now getting some return damage with that blue buff. Excuse me, what? That was a lot of damage. I've never seen Flash step through that much. Now Fidget's still in a very bad position. He's staying in. Why, though? Get out of there. You need to be careful. There's Flucker Blaze. Luckily for Fidget, the tech chase was not there. Now Darian back in against Hawkid.
It's still 13 seconds left here for Hawkid in the arena, and we'll see him actually tag up, play it super safe. Queen Fairy back in. He's going to look for that opening onto Darian, who does have both of his defensive backups, so we'll see how he's going to be able to deal with the likes of Queen Fairy, as Persistence will be popped. Goes for the knee, follows it up with the drag. So far, looking pretty good, but the assist will be there. And with that, actually, Shoulder Charge doesn't really get much off of it, so Darian is going to be able to stay safe for now.
Intimidation assist, that was. Darian forced to use the entirety of that one, but now only Gust available. He needs to be very careful. Queen Fairy managing to avoid everything there, including the Frost Sheet, which means Darian just instantly dies. Vision tries to come in and do something as well, but that was just
Oh,
Wow.
it's rough. Team Playlist so much more dominant in the 3 versus 3 setup. Really caught Linne off guard. I mean, it caught us off guard there. Was probably not as fast of a kill as what we've seen last time around coming out of Goblin Spiders. Because to be fair, that time around, they didn't only kill one person. I think they pretty much team wiped. So they still have to work their way towards claiming that particular title. But hey, that was very nicely done by Team Playlist. And with that, they're going to be advancing for the winners bracket.
Yeah, that was a bit questionable what happened in the beginning there. The patience that we saw from Linne in the beginning, in that first 1 versus 1, kind of bit him in the behind this time. He thought that maybe he could get away with it, but the amount of blue buff coming out. Important to note, the debuff for the blue buff, for that fighting spirit, is shorter than the cooldowns that 2 people have. So you can have it up essentially every 45 seconds, which is really strong. And we saw exactly how strong it was as well. If Linne had managed to survive, they could have probably accomplished great things with that Soul Fighter, but it just wasn't meant to be, unfortunately.
And of course, it's not going to be over for them just yet. Timeout will be knocked down to the losers bracket. If they manage to recover, they can still fight their way through it for a particular spot throughout the losers bracket, if that may come to pass. But in the meantime, congratulations to Team Playlist, as they will be advancing through the winners bracket to face off against Positive Vibes later on. And Barney, why don't you remind everyone what all these teams are fighting for?
Well, you see, the most important thing they are fighting for is the position to represent Europe at the World Championships, but that is only after winning the finals tournament. The two top teams today, or rather, well, tomorrow when we wrap all this up, will be joining Team Bai and Team Goblin Spiders as the four teams to participate in the finals tournament at Leicester at the ESL Arena on August 26th for that first place prize of $21,500 US.
And of course, second place will be taking home $15,000. Third place and fourth also not too shabby with $8,500 and $5,000 each. We'll see how that's gonna go down, because until then, we still need to find out who is going to join, as you said, Goblin Spiders and Team Bai after today and tomorrow's tournament. And so far, it's going to be looking good. Coming up next, it will be Bad Intentions versus Free Win, or Team Free Win. And it's going to be interesting because Bad Intentions during the last tournament looked a little bit shaky. It was very surprising to see them get knocked out of the tournament by the same team pretty much, as they lost twice versus Team Papiano. And they're going to be feeling bad about that one. And they did practice. I did hear that Ryuki, as a matter of fact, went over to boot camp in the sense with Tenna over to his place in Italy, and they both just practiced it out, made sure that this time around they're going to be prepared, because they have not necessarily a lot on the line, or everyone has a lot on the line, right? But they have a reputation to uphold. If they don't make it this time, I think they're going to be very disappointed, and that might be actually affecting them. We'll see if those nerves are going to be kicking in.
Entirely possible. Losing to a team twice in a row, especially when, as you say, they have such a huge reputation to maintain. It's demoralizing, to say the least. But good news, from what I've heard, Tenna has passed his exams. So congratulations, Tenna.
Indeed.
Devoting all the time he has now, most likely, to bettering himself and being ready for this, upcoming revenge match, if you will. And although Papiano do have Jiro now, instead of that Warlock Mr. Fragola, Jiro, as you said, is no slouch. So we'll have to see exactly how this manages to play out later on. But for now, the hurdle they have to overcome is Team Free Win.
And it's going to be interesting because we haven't seen Team Free Win play as of yet. It's going to be Akbar R on that Assassin, Euro Sushi on the Blade Dancer, and Hoteni on that Blade Master. And it's another one of these team comps that don't make too much sense in terms of what's currently best in terms of the current meta and current way of balance. And they will have a lot of potential saves coming in. But what's your take on that team overall?
It's odd. It is odd. It's going to be very difficult for them to try to organize things efficiently. However, with the way that both Blade Master and Blade Dancer function, their burst potential is absolutely insane. If they manage to coordinate onto a single target with that Searing Slash, with the Lightning Draw from the Blade Dancer, and then Dragon Tongue, Flicker, Flash Step, everything, that target's probably going to die. So if they can coordinate that, it's going to be very, very good. The theme I feel for today is going to be efficient usage of assists and tag outs, and or lack thereof, as was the case in the previous match. They'll need to be very, very careful. They need to keep as many players alive as possible. Most importantly, that assassin.
And first off, in the first 1v1, it's going to be Ryuki for Bad Intentions versus Hocheni on that Blade Master for Team Free Win. It's going to be interesting to see who can take the edge here, as so far, Ryuki's still dancing around very nicely, avoiding that first engage, and now easy setup for that mine. And we'll see what Ryuki can do, if he's going to be on point. So far, he does manage to land the stun, goes in for the high wire option for now, follows it up with the day so far, looking good. Lightning Strike dishing out quite a bit of damage. Speaking of damage, Poison Breath just chunks him down to 45%. Now Webson down on the ground, still has that tap escape, but already down to 30%. Forced to use that as well. It's just looking like a landslide of an advantage for Ryuki right now.
Yeah, you can't let him run away with that so much. Now, the Flock of Blades missed well. This is going to be death with the style points to match. Oh, that is just unfortunate in every regard. But Ryuki has danced this dance many, many a time. He knows exactly what most Blade Masters seek to achieve with everything, really. And he knows to avoid that Flock of Blades. He knows to play very, very carefully. Indeed, as he was running around while Hocheni was still stunned and still crowd controlled, Ryuki was still very, very patient, playing very, very carefully and safely, staying at a distance where he could not possibly be affected by that second wind escape. And it really, really paid off. And it's one of these things that people really maybe have difficulty in unlearning. You want to try to ideally use the second wind at a point where it'll hit the opponent and daze them, and thus give you a free setup. That almost never happens at this level of play. You have to use it to not get more damage, because if you don't use it, you could potentially lose the usage of it over the course of the fight. It's 36 seconds, which isn't really that long compared to some of the other cooldowns in the game. So using it when you have it and then trying to play a bit more safely afterwards is more efficient than holding on to it and hoping that you get that perfect setup that'll probably never come. But very well played.
Most definitely. And coming up next, it will be Mr. B for Bad Intentions versus Akbar here for Team Free Win. We'll see whether or not they can equalize it, or if Bad Intentions continue to be on a roll. It's going to be the safe option for Mr. B in terms of his build. No Fury shenanigans afoot, but he actually will land the stun into the knee already. Is not looking good for Akbar, as he will use that flower. Still has that stealth, but so much more is available right now for Mr. B, as we'll continue to stay safe with the Seeing Strike. Launches him up into the wall and into the air. This is so bad. Punishes the Reflex Soul, now stunned up again. Stealth was used, but with Ember Stomp being in play, Mr. B is going to be all too safe, as he's still dancing around, spinning around, knocked down, but again, should be looking good as the persistent was pop. He gets him. Very nice read coming out of Mr. B, and a clean finish there at the end. Wasn't a flawless victory like Ryuki, so maybe Mr. B, you know, is gonna hear the end of that, but still, congratulations to them. Really well played, and it's gonna be so tough for Team Free Win to come into this tournament. Hey, we're a new team, and we're gonna face not only the team that has been touted to be one of the best, if not the best in Europe, but they're hungry, and they definitely show that they do want the win, and they do not want to disappoint their fans. They want to make it to those LAN finals.
But goodness me, Mr. B, you he returned that book long ago. He probably hasn't seen that shenanigan for some time, but even so, he was still ready for the Swift Step days. He was like, you know what? Ram stuns you. It's an iframe for me. I can't lose this situation, I guess. And so he just threw it out. I say threw it out. It was all calculated. It was calculated from the moment he started that. And that was very masterfully done. So a very strong opening showing. It's going to be... They also have a bit less... Does that... Somebody's house might be on fire, but that's not my problem right now. I'm doing something else. So as I was saying, Mr. B, because of that victory that he just had, Bad Intentions now has a little bit of leeway in this 3 versus 3 because they can always revert back to that 1 versus 1 should it go to pot, essentially. But with the way that they've been playing, it looks a little bit unfortunate, a little bit unlikely for that to be the case. We'll have to wait and see, but Freewin definitely need to try to step it up, especially with, as we mentioned, their less than stellar team composition.
And the scary thing for them as well is the fact that Bad Intentions is one of the most experienced teams in the West. They have been together for such a long time, even with Mr. B now for quite a while, and they, as you said, they've danced this dance so many times. They know how to win those 3 versus 3 matches, and that's in a sense where they actually shine. I do think that their team comp as well as their synergy is what makes them so strong. We've seen in the past in the form of Ryuki and Tenna, of course, really playing those 2 classes to a very high level at the very top, and of course having also the likes of Mr. B on that destroyer, one of the best in the West, if not in the world, in the past. However, now, as of late, players like Luki, of course, especially in the EU scene, have been testing him on that one. But we'll find out soon enough if Team Freewin can equalize this one. And Barney, what do you think they're going to have to rely on to make sure that happens?
Maybe the Blade Dancer. That lightning draw, especially with its lowered cooldown, Tenna has been known to sometimes have lapses, I want to say, during 3 versus 3s where he just sort of stops anything. If that should that happen again, it needs to be taken advantage of immediately. But with how things have gone, I think it's unlikely this time around.
And it is going to be the Sin Mirror matchup to start it all off, and already we'll see a trade happen as Stealth was used by Ryuki instead. The Lotus is the option for Akbar so far, even with the assist coming through. Nothing else really gained on either side. However, Ryuki is finally going to be able to find an opening. However, with the extra assist, we will see Akbar still stay safe, and that's what we were talking about. The Blade Dancers, the Blade Master is going to also make sure that he does stay safe, but really well done by Ryuki there too to make sure he disengages.
His disengages are truly just wonderful to look at because he does them so quickly and smoothly. In comes the time distortion to reset the cooldowns of Ryuki. Now trying to go for that high wire, unsuccessful. Lotus kick as well. Now a little bit okay on the receiving end of that damage. Bombard into lightning strike from Akbar. That is very strong. Now still doing fairly well. Ryuki actually on the back foot now, having already used his stealth. Now Lotus is available for him. Needs to be very careful. And now even Lotus is down. Ryuki needs to try and get out of that because if he's caught out again, this could be very bad. Luckily for him, the stealth is available and the landmine is unsuccessful. Now the execute comes in.
What? No! What? Oh, that's the danger of the Shadow Destroyer and the execute damage. They knew what they were doing. The bait was so strong. The 200 IQ debate levels at this point because they knew exactly what strategy they were going to go for, and with that, they will secure that kill, but it's not over just yet. However, now Tenna is in play for Bad Intentions. We'll look to claim another kill on the board, potentially, but so far, it's going to be so tough for Freewin to make something happen.
What was that 5-point strike? Is he using the resist version? That's new. All right. Okay, I'll roll with it. I can see why it could be useful. And the lightning build. All right, yeah, cool. Let's keep going. Let's do it. He's doing it. But it's a tough situation for him. Although Ryuki is on low health, he still has 3 assists, and Ryuki's assists generally only needs 1 in order to actually kill someone. And now this is looking very grim for him. In comes Mr. B for that assist onto Tanner. Pile driver coming back in onto Futeni. Now the time distortion. It's just so challenging for him. The warding spirit disappears as well, and now, although the lowered cooldown of Sword Shroud means that Blade Master has quite a little bit better sustain than it used to,
goodbye. We hardly knew you. That was, I mean, you blinked and it was gone. Just like that Hucheni. Last standing member now for Team Free Win. Bad Intentions perhaps toying with their food right now. Just make it stop at this point. I mean, the weird thing was, it was very unlike Bad Intentions to have Ryuki so low and play in such a silly manner. So I kind of want to give them credit for planning that one out, but it was an interesting match, to say the least.
That was devastating. That was devastating. And it looked like they might have an advantage, as you say, when Ryuki was on such low health. This Aqua was actually played really well, I feel. For the way that it went, for the way that it ended up going. He was so close. If he actually did get a second stun onto Ryuki just before he magically vaporized. Had that not occurred, that match could have gone in a very, very different way. But Bad Intentions holding up their name, they have some honor to regain, I feel, and they're definitely well on their way to doing that.
So far looking good, of course. Remember, as a result, they will be advancing through the winners bracket. A lot is on the line. They definitely want to make sure they secure themselves another spot in those LAN finals that will be going on the 26th of August. Not only are there cash prizes at stake, but also they will get to represent, or rather a chance to represent Europe at the World Championship this year. Of course, as you've seen, during the first preliminary tournament, which happened on the 20th and 21st of July, we did see Team Goblin Spiders and Team Bai claim their respective spots. We'll find out tomorrow who will be joining them in. So far, been looking good. However, for Team Free Win, yes, they've been knocked out to the losers bracket, but it's not going to be over for them just yet.
It's gonna be interesting to see Team Timeout versus Free Win. I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that they, rally themselves, rally their spirits, get the morale going, and deliver us, at the very least, regardless of the outcome of the match. I want it to be spectacular. It needs to be an event. It needs to be memorable. And that is exactly what this next match is going to lead to, I believe. Team Papiano versus Team Paramount. My God, I have a lot of good things to say about Zay. But first thing that I have to say about Zay is happy birthday. It's Zay's birthday today. So, give him a shout in
happy birthday to him.
So, I don't know how old he is, but that's irrelevant. Point is, it's his birthday. He's got birthday luck. Hopefully it carries him through to the end, yeah?
That's definitely how it works. Knowing how Caster Curse usually comes in, that will be his undoing. Hopefully not the case, though. We'll see if that will happen, as, of course, Team Papiano will be Luki, Zay, and their newest addition, Jiro, as we've talked about previously when the broadcast started. Jiro, an exceptional Kung Fu master, and interestingly enough, he actually told me that once he started practicing with them, both Luki and Zay were really surprised that things were looking really well with a Kung Fu master on this team. Surprisingly so. And he told me they were beating the top teams consistently. So I'm curious to see if that will be, of course, the case. On the other side, it will be Team Paramount, which will be built up by Radio, Hangetsu, and Nick. Hangetsu, of course, you all should be familiar with him, not only as a caster, but last time has had quite a few good plays on that Destroyer, not only the free versus free setup, but also in ones.
But, had a fairly good showing last time. I think he maybe a few unfortunate things happened, but they did manage to beat out team what was it? It was that the French team. Mirko
No.
ainda não me pode fazer. That's the one. Anyway, so they did have a pretty good showing. And although they did end up losing out to $20 is $20, who are now positive vibes. Too many names, just man. Hopefully this time they'll have a bit of a better showing. But they are against some pretty impressive players. Like I said last time, I think Zapish might be you might be outdone by Zay now. So that's impressive. So
I mean,
update your memes, lads. We're on Zay now.
And it's for a good reason. Zay has been the flashy player to look out for, especially when it comes down to the last tournament. However, this time we'll see whether or not Papiano will manage to have just as good of a performance or even better with their latest addition. It's going to be Luki to start things off versus Nick Destroyer versus Kung Fu Master. Let's see who can claim that first win on the board here, as already Nick is going to be looking for an opening. However, unable to find anything just yet. Trying to go for that triple kick for now.
Yes, and a matchup that Destroyers typically hate. Luki is showing that he doesn't really find that to be much of an issue at all. Although he doesn't have his Gust, he does still have his Persistence available. And Nick, without an escape skill available, is going to be very, very, very unlucky. Ooh. Oh, the knee! Now, 4.5 seconds of, well, that. But luckily, time does run out. Knockdown again, the Emit Frost is available for Nick to save him from the grab. Triple kick unsuccessful as well. Launched into the air by the smite, but now Luki is still in a very, very dominant position, even with the Searing Palm onto him.
The saving grace here for Nick could be the fact that the second one did come back up. However, oh, the persistence is there to deflect even right at the parry to make sure that does go through with a CC, but Nick still not out of it just yet. 8% now being launched up into the air though. Oh, it doesn't get the finisher quite yet. Luki with the style points instead. We'll be claiming that first win on the board.
Oh no. Luki, there are times when you realize that you've won the match. And Luki recognized that, and he was just like, I'm going to enjoy this for a little bit. Let me enjoy this for a bit.
Let me have my moments for sure. And it's well deserved because, as we've seen last time around, his performance on that Destroyer has improved so much over the past year that he's become one of the top players on that class too. And it's pretty interesting to note that we might still see him on the Blade Master at some point. So I'm really curious to see if he's going to play it at all, considering how strong Destroyers are right now and how well he's been on it. I wouldn't say that will be the case. And on top of that, it's really hard to eclipse somebody like Zay, who's on your team on that Blade Master too.
Yeah, I think that ship has sailed for Luki, and he's quite comfortable on his Destroyer now. He can let someone else take over that mantle. And Zay took it. He polished it. He gilded it. He did. Oh man, it's beautiful. It's sparkling. It's a shining example of don't underestimate Blade Master.
And speaking of the birthday boy, it's going to be Zay versus Hangetsu coming up next. And Papiano, of course, will be looking to secure themselves a 2-0 point lead. However, on the other side, I do think if there is going to be somebody that's going to look to turn things around for this team, it should be Hangetsu. So we'll see how it's going to be able to perform as the round will start. Once again, for the blue hand side, Team Papiano with Zay, and in red for Paramount, Hangetsu on the Destroyer.
Yes,
and now,
and of course.
Ooh, sorry, Falcon. Oh, okay. Flashy already. I like it. Wing Protector has been popped. Gus already forced out. Of course, Persistence still available, however, for Hangetsu. But so far, looking good for Zay. The Typhoon, at the very least, will make sure Zay is forced to disengage, but never mind. He finds an opening, exploits it, launches Hangetsu up into the air, and this is going to be pretty tough. However, Resistance available, and the crowd games and everything else in between. Hangetsu is going to drop to 10%, and he will be launched up into the air. It is over. This is exactly why Zay is quickly becoming Barney's favorite. I mean,
this guy! How did he get away with this? He does. He did a thing. He did a thing that normally people would expect to do. You know, the back step into flicker behind the opponent when they're not expecting it. Get the stun on him. He didn't do that. He instantly blocked and instead used rush. Who does that? No one does that. He did it. He didn't expect it, and it worked out wonderfully. And he played exactly how he should have for that destroyer matchup, keeping him knocked down, trying to use as few stuns or dazes as possible. Because if you're knocked down, you can't use persistence. That's what sealed that game for Zay.
And it's just been such a clean performance too, and that's been the name of the game. The one thing for Papiano, I really feel like, are those 1v1 setups. If you throw in Zay into the mix, I mean, did he even lose a single set throughout the last tournament in the 1v1 setup?
I don't think so. I think for all the 1 versus 1s that Zay was in, he pretty much crushed, well, everyone. So
and another one added to the list, of course, right now for Zay. But this is where things can still be turned around here for Team Paramount. We'll see whether or not they can equalize things and bring us to a third 1v1. However, this is another area where Team Papiano can really show us what they're made of, because now having Jiro instead with that Kung Fu Master to replace Fragola and the Warlock will provide a different angle in terms of their approach in the 3 versus 3 setup. I expect to see a lot of air launch setups potentially, or some flashy, cheesy kills with Fighting Spirit.
Definitely, and because Luki is on it, his destroyer play is. People weren't expecting him to be quite this good when he said, "I'm a destroyer now," and people like, "Yeah, all right, okay, mate." But actually, it's become quite a force to be reckoned with, and especially in 3 versus 3s, we've seen how he plays. He does what I really enjoy seeing from destroyers, which is what Colorized does. Being able to come in, defend your teammate, but at the same time do as much damage to the opponent as possible. And it's even easier than ever before, thanks to Execute being a thing now that exists and is really good and is really strong. And Luki knows exactly how to abuse that. So with this team composition, though they're missing the Warlock, I don't think it's going to have any impact.
And we'll see actually Jiro be the one to start things off here for Papiano. First time we'll get some Kung Fu Master action coming out of him after Rumble on the channel. So we'll see what he's going to be able to do. As so far, it's going to be Radio staying safe with the use of that Bastion. Going to be able to still have that fall back up, but triple kick into the airline, so already looking really good for him. We could see that Destroyer just chunk him out. You have to come in even quicker with the saves, because Papiano will punish you so hard. Rising Dragon with another stunt setup. The Leech was used air launch. This could be very dangerous though for Papiano. Jiro could be punished 50%, but no! Radio! What's Zay? What? Okay. Never mind. He's gone, and we'll have Luki come in instead for that Destroyer 1v1. Okay. Still.
Yeah. Blink and you miss it. Searing Slash is quite a force to be reckoned with. That was 30% of their health just vanishing instantly. Luki now trying to get a good setup onto Hungetsu, managed to do so, but Gust is used to get out of Luki's grab. Luki in a pretty good position. He does have persistence. Hungetsu now trying to maybe buy himself some time. He probably should tag out as soon as he can. A bit odd, kind of standing there, not doing too much. There's the tag out that he desperately needed to do. And now into Nick.
We'll see what they'll be able to do. Such a tough ask of them, of course, right now with the 2v3. But we'll see. Also, Luki perhaps forced to tag out as he does not have those defensive. Soon enough, he will have Gust at the very least. However, second win still available for Nick. We'll find the days off. However, remember, as said, Gust is available. Finally will be used. Ember Stop will keep Luki safe for a while longer. But even though he dropped down to 52%, it's still looking so good for Team Papiano. And now the birthday boy coming back in does the Soaring Falcon into another player deleted. That is Nick out of the game. Sorry about that one, buddy. As Zay still on fire, still on point will look to claim another poor soul. However, Hangetsu does manage to get the air launch rolling. We'll look to force out that tab escape at the very least, but this is such a tough ride for them.
On fire. I see what you did there. But it's true. Birthday Boy's got birthday luck. Or skill. Or both. Possibly. And oh my god. Was that I think what we just witnessed, ladies and gentlemen, was the ever elusive Blade Master Wallbang combination. They said he'd do it, and by goodness he did it.
Oh man, I mean, I don't know if we're respecting TOS with such dirty gameplay right there. I mean, that was just insane. It just gets me that much more excited about the upcoming matches. I mean, when you have Bad Intentions right now on point, Papiano still on point and looking really exceptional, even with that Kung Fu Master on that lineup instead of the Warlock, which of course traditionally has been the go-to pick for that tag team setup. It's going to be very exciting to watch. And of course, congratulations to them. As a result, they will be advancing through that winner's bracket.
Goodness me, though. It's the sort of assist that you don't typically expect, but it's also something that everyone loves to see. And something that people often forget about the Soaring Falcon. It's not just a 3-second stun. It's not just unblockable. It doesn't just do a lot of damage. I know that's a lot of things it doesn't just do, but what it also does is it increases your attack power. Yeah. Oh dear. That's why you see such insane numbers coming out from that Searing Slash, and then the subsequent crit buff from Searing Slash into Lunar Slash into some Dragon Tongue, and it's just vile. And not the player. It's just disgusting.
And with that, of course, they will be one step closer towards that all-important spot that they want to secure for themselves. Remember, a lot is on the line for all of these teams. Not only will they manage to, if the winner of the winner's bracket and loser's bracket, respectively, not only will they manage to get themselves a spot in the LAN finals, which will be happening in Leicester at the ESL UK studio on the 26th of August. We'll be getting an opportunity at representing Europe for the World Championship, and on top of that, claim quite a bit of cash prize as well.
Dosh. Mad dosh. And of course, the representation, you know, it's the status that comes with being named the best team in Europe. Some people would be very happy to receive that. Others might let it go to their heads. Either way, I'm not the one to decide this. It'll all come down to how these next few matches play out, both today and, of course, tomorrow. Be sure to tune in as well for the second half of the preliminary tournament 2 tomorrow, when we'll be doing the whichever finals will appear from today's matches. So it's exciting, you have to admit.
And that's perhaps even underselling it, because it's been, I mean, so far it's been very one-sided, but an absolute treat to watch. So it's gonna be that much more exciting once we do get to those later stages. And coming up next, it will be Team Playlist, which we've already seen, and Team Positive Vibes, which is another one of those teams that have been touted as the top teams in Europe. They have renamed from their last name of $20 is $20. And there were a lot of expectations for these guys. And now coming into this one, I do think they want to show us why those expectations are so high.
As you can see, the next grand match to anticipate a little bit further down the line, it would be Bad Intentions versus Papiano, the fated rematch. But I am getting a little bit ahead of myself for now. But as you say, Positive Vibes versus Playlist. Positive Vibes, actually. Brother Bill, Antrax, and Cymex, the only summoner present in this tournament. And as I so briefly mentioned that summoner changes are good, and then left it at that, now I feel I have a little time to elaborate. It was a very small change, but the Rumblebees are no longer affected by distance, in that the travel time that it takes for them to get to your opponent will always be the same regardless of how far away they are. This is good. This is good. The other great thing is that the cat can now, when it has access to its uppercut, you don't actually need to be stunned when they use that in order to be launched. So you'll no longer have the take flight treatment, which means that you can prolong combos for longer than you would before, meaning that you now have, well, just more damage.
And that's another interesting thing, right? Because Cymex did actually go for the bees setup even in the last tournament where they didn't have these changes. So taking that into consideration, you expect to see a lot more of those bees?
Yes. Bees are strong. Bees are very, very strong, especially since they do additional damage against, players who are caught in their traps and then, launched in the air as well. It's very, very strong, and as well because it literally costs no focus if they're airborne. It's a bit good. It's kind of like a mini warlock, except with,
bees.
Bees.
A lot of bees.
Lots of bees.
And speaking of said bees, it will be Cymex first off in the 1v1 setup for Positive Vibes versus Playlist. We'll be sending out Queen Fairy as their starter, and it's going to be that Sin versus Summoner matchup we haven't seen too much of course, with the lack of summoners in the tournament, but we'll see whether or not Cymex can keep that rep strong, especially with the recent changes, as already looking good for him.
Yes, looking for some good openings. This is pretty difficult for the assassin because of the Sunflower. This is the one case the Sunflower is probably, well, it's definitely better. The area of effect is very easy to get the assassin out of stealth with it, and of course the cat as well, offering an additional layer of protection. Cymex, though, getting quite a bit of damage. Very, very timely stealth there to avoid the cat's hammer. Queen Fairy in a fairly dominant position, but he has no focus and no escapes to speak of. Cymex, if he gets a single opener here, this could be absolutely devastating, but he manages to web up both Cymex and his cat. Not a very ideal situation. He needs to avoid the bombards because it is very, very strong. The flower is now back and available. Queen Fairy's guard broken. As much as even, okay, Caster's Curse is really, like, it's not even waiting for me to say things anymore. Cymex is getting really decimated now.
Queen Fairy. I mean, those had to be some crits on those lightning strides. Very well done by him, and that was such a clean execution, really, because he played aggressive, even though he lost his 2 defensives. And afterwards, after he said, okay, I dished out the damage, now I disengage and I wait it out. And that's exactly what he did. He found the right opportunity to strike back with another follow-up. And with that, they're going to be taking the lead. And I think that's actually pretty surprising. I was favoring Cymex coming into this one.
Sorry, Cymex. It's my fault. The Caster's Curse is just too strong with me. But it did seem at first like it was a pretty good situation. However, Queen Fairy, with that very, very timely party stealth, managed to avoid the cat daze, which would have certainly been a very, very big issue, regardless of what he did afterwards, because he didn't have any escapes. If he chose to do nothing, he'd be launched. If he chose to roll, he'd be tech chased. That was the pivotal moment. If that managed to land onto Queen Fairy, that match probably would have gone a very, very different way. But Queen Fairy, very, very timely, very, very well played, avoided that, got himself to a good position, got his flower down as well, and that essentially cemented the match in his favor.
And it's going to be so tough for this side of Positive Vibes because all of them have such high expectations for themselves as well. Anthrax has been one of the top performing players on ladder, has been practicing so much, and really goes to show why that, or rather that practice paying off. Brother Bill has been very adamant about making it to Worlds this year too, so we'll see whether or not they can step it up, as so far, of course, really well played by Team Playlist to take the lead, and we'll see what they can do in this next 1v1. It is going to be Brother Bill versus Yoni He on that Kung Fu Master, and I gotta say, judging by Yoni's performance in the mirror matchup last time around, he's looking very strong in that 1v1.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. Kung Fu Master does have quite a good advantage against the two spinner classes, both Destroyer and Blade Dancer. The deflect spins of Blade Dancer and Destroyer are very good up until the point where you can ignore them entirely, which is kind of what Kung Fu Master can do. Their leg sweep pierces parry, which means they don't have to worry about being deflected, and knockdown is the one crowd control that reliably will go through the spin of both those classes. And as well, backstep into Tiger Pounce, very strong as well. Same deal, knockdown, parry penetration. If Yonihi plays around that very carefully, Brother Bill is going to have a pretty tough time adapting to it, but we can't discount or discredit the reputation that comes with the man, the myth, the legend, Brother Bill himself. He's been known to pull, you know, pull out against stronger classes than Kung Fu Master in the past before, winning against warlocks and gunslingers alike. So we'll have to see how exactly he chooses to play this and how Yonihi manages to adapt, because I do feel Brother Bill most likely is going to be leading the pace of the match.
And we'll see whether or not that will be the case. He has been really good when it comes to those openers as well, making sure he makes the most out of that early kit that's available during pre-combat situation. But so far, we'll continue to spin, having that Maelstrom available. But he did use that Guardian Tempest too in the beginning, so now finally getting that stun off. Doesn't opt in for the take flight, goes in pretty late, but it's going to be some free damage onto his opponent. Follows it up with a Lightning Stride, which will chunk him down to about 55%. Very nicely done. You get the relaunch off of that 5-point strike, and now he's still waiting out on that second win. We'll be looking for an opening himself, and when that Rising Dragon is going to heal up and find it.
Ooh, very, very, very nicely executed Smite tech chase there. Unfortunately, he does get caught by the second one and is now launched into the air. The instant throw from Phantom Grip means that Yonihi doesn't have time to use Emit Frost. Now Brother Bill trying to buy himself some time for that Guardian Tempest, which he will use. Now Yonihi needs to be very, very careful, because getting hit by the Soaring Falcon, which does not happen. Thankfully, the ice armor is there. But he does get caught by the raid and launched into the air. That lightning draw is going to hurt him quite a lot. It might be, a lot to deal with. Now, he does manage to get a little bit of damage onto Brother Bill, but his second wind is up. With the Searing Palm onto Brother Bill, he's going to take quite a bit of damage, but it's not enough to proc it. Now Yonihi on the back foot.
Oh! Very nicely timed by Yonihi. That could very well be the thing to really turn things in his favor right now, as he does have a deficit when it comes to those HP pulls. Goes for the flying slap. He connects it. If he does play this one out patiently, he gets the win. He gets the stun. The relaunch. Can he close this one out? 30%. He gets the damage, but he doesn't punish the reflex throw. Not like this. Yonihi still has the second win. He can still do this, but at the same fashion, Brother Bill will have his Maelstrom, and now soon enough should have that second win. Yonihi perhaps crumbling a bit under pressure. It's just looking for anything right now. Second win was pop, and the punish is there. Bill still gets the win, but that was so close.
That was so sick. That was so sick. Oh, it's not often you make me go to the east part of London, but my God, man, that was absolutely insane. The timing on the Frost Sheath. What a champ. I don't care if it doesn't matter that he lost that round. He won it. He won it for the people. That was great. That was brilliant. Oh, I'm so happy.
It was very impressive. I mean, the timing on that was impeccable, to say the least. But it's still a loss. And unfortunately for them, this does mean that they don't have the advantage of potentially going to a third 1v1 if Positive Vibes wins in the free versus free department, because that is where Positive Vibes should be looking stronger as well. I mean, it was so close for that win. So close. But still, also well played by Bill to make sure he keeps his composure. He finds those punishes afterwards in the end. So, man, what a day of games so far, Barty.
Yeah, so far. I said earlier that I want it to be entertaining, and my goodness, this is absolutely that. I couldn't have hoped for anything better. And now with the 3 versus 3 coming up as well, I'm expecting a lot. With the way that Yonihi played that, with the way that Brother Bill played that as well, I'm at a loss for words after that last match, because it was just so wonderful. It really was breathtaking. But of course, you know, with how Queen Fairy played in that first match against Cymex, if he can replicate that in the 3 versus 3, that's going to be very, very pivotal. It's going to be pivotal for Team Playlist, because Cymex, although not entirely a Warlock, he can still essentially function similarly to that. Coming in with the bees onto an aerial assist, that's a lot of damage. That is an insane amount of damage, especially with that Petal Storm toss ability, the blue petals. Increasing the damage even further, you don't want to be caught in that position at all. And he's also a party saver. Getting rid of Cymex is going to be very, very crucial for Team Playlist. They need to do it as quickly as possible, but it's going to be very hard with Brother Bill on the defensive. It's going to be very, very difficult, but best of luck to both teams.
And in terms of the predictions, real quick before we start, what do you think is going to be starting things off on both sides?
Probably Queen Fairy. They've had a very, very good run so far, and especially with that that very safe opener of Lotus into Stealth. I wouldn't expect it to be anyone else, but of course I am incorrect, and it's going to be Hawkett versus Brother Bill.
And he's going to be playing the Blade Master. He could have opted in for the Gunslinger, but it is the Blade Master right now, and we'll see how that one is going to play out. So far, it's Brother Bill versus Hawkett, BM versus Blade Dancer. So far, not really able to find any opening on both sides. However, with the assist now prompted, we'll see Bill still look to play this one safe. However, gets CC'd up, and now we'll lose quite a bit of his HP for his troubles. And Antrax, even though he came in, he got punished quite a lot as well. Yes,
and of course now, even though he is on quite a bit of a health deficit, and so is Antrax actually for trying to help him, it's going to be a very good spot. The rush, he called Brother Bill's bluff, immediately rushed into the Searing Slash, forcing out an escape. Bill needs to be very, very careful, because if he gets caught out again, it's going to be very, very difficult. He doesn't have any way to reset his speed. Oh, he does manage to get up by the skin of his teeth.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe he actually made it out alive. Antrax trying to get a setup right now. We'll have one onto Yonihi, however, with the assist coming through. Hawkett will keep his team members safe. However, the tab escape was forced out. We did see the Frost Army being used as well. Positive vibes, not down and out just yet, but it's going to be such a tough spot for them, as Queen Fairy managing to get the air launch underway. Does have the web as well. The mine is there, looking for the punish on the reflex roll. Doesn't quite get it. And now with the Frost Chief coming into play, Antrax will stay safe for a while longer for now. Still looking to get his opponent out of stealth. However, it's going to be the stun, and will connect. And now with the position swap, it's actually going to be the tab escape used there. So potential opening right now for positive vibes, as they will get the daze, but no follow-up means that we still see Queen Fairy stay safe for now.
Oh, it's going to be very tough for him, but he does actually, he predicts the assist. He literally does nothing, stares at Antrax in the stunned state and thinks, you know what, I have a feeling. And he absolutely was correct on it. Antrax, though, he's going to have his back step up shortly, and Queen Fairy with the stealth. What a prediction on that deflect from Antrax, and now safe in that ice armor. The assist from Hawkett. Goodness me, he predicted that Lotus kick absolutely perfectly. And he's not, unfortunately, going to get too much off of it, but he does guarantee that an assist is wasted from Team Playlist.
And Antrax was able to get so much value out of his time in the arena. Now, still with 3 seconds left for him. We'll see the assist come through again, but is the damage going to be there? So far, it seems like it's not quite going to be enough to really make sure any kills go on the board. However, now Hawkett potentially in a little bit of a trouble. Cymex coming into play will drop quite low himself actually out of that, but will be able to sustain. We all know too well how much Summoners can sustain. Soaring Falcon actually on the familiar, so a lot of damage could come through. You might actually be able to kill it now with the air launch. Will be there. Tab escape is available on both sides. Antrax back in for positive vibes.
Hawkeye managing to avoid the Soaring Falcon from Bill as he exits the arena with that Sword Shroud. And the second wind as well. Antrax does still have the backstep, but okay, we're going for swag points here. But, oh my goodness. Did you see how much that healed? What the hell? That's ice armor for you, folks. But it is a 3-minute cooldown, so he won't have that up for quite some time. It's bought his team some time, but he is not going to have that safety net available for him. Now, the ultimate available for Queen Fairy, if he gets the perfect launch, that's going to be someone dead instantly. We've seen Ryuki do it. Can Queen Fairy replicate this success?
It's going to be interesting because Brother Bill now, without that second win as well, he could be in really big trouble. However, 2 assists available for both Cymax and Antrax means that he should be safe now. Actually getting the parry off for the stun will be looking good for him as he will continue to stall things out. 5+ actually to get the air launch. Rising Dragon to try and get him out of the bind, but Queen Fairy is still in trouble. The Beast! The Beast will land the kill in positive vibes, showing us why they have been touted to be such a strong team. Brother Bill, I mean, look at that. From being so low, this team was able to heal back up, was able to sustain, and now land that kill. And
no.
With the ultimate.
Oh, no! Okay. Oof, just in time. That could have been absolutely abysmal. Fun fact, I actually really enjoyed the Wickerman, and it was my favorite scene, and I love that Cymex reenacted it for me. But now Hawkeye is in a very terrible position. The Briar Patch prevents you from blocking, mate! And he just gets taken out in the most dishonorable fashion imaginable. Yoni in just the worst position possible. Yeah, being able to stay alive for another just under 5 minutes is going to be a massive undertaking. He might win on time. It's entirely possible. But the instant tag out cancels the ultimate.
I love how Cymex was like, nope, not having any of that. I mean, he was listening to your cast when you were talking about how strong that Kung Fu Master Ultimate can be, but even without it, Antrax actually taking quite a bit of punishment, as we do still see Yonihi at a maximum HP, having all those cooldowns up and available. 1 assist still left, though, for both Brother Bill and Cymex, so I can't really see Antrax going down here, but this could be something on the up and up at the very least for Yonihi.
Yeah, well, despite the rather abysmal situation that he finds himself in, he's literally at 100% health. He's holding on so well and actually dealing a bit of damage in return. He needs to play this very, very carefully because assists are still available for the side of Positive Vibes, and they're only going to get more in 45 seconds time. It's a tough road, but he's holding. Believe.
And to his credit, he has really impressed me so far throughout the tournament. However, now being grappled up by the Phantom Grip is gonna be a potential easy setup, especially, but the draw not quite connecting. So Bill whiffing that one for now. However, he does have that second win, opts to use it to make sure he gets something done with the Flying Slam, actually connecting. So Yonihi not able to get the follow-up through, but still in it. What a champ.
How is he doing this? He's actually, like, this is actually a little bit absurd how he's managing to hold on for so long. But as we say that, I'm sorry, it's unintentional, I swear. I don't mean for it to be this bad. And now in comes the bees as well. Oh, no.
But still, that was such a close call. It was much closer than perhaps I would have expected, because Positive Vibes, so one of the top teams versus this side, it was just really impressive to see how Queen Fairy was able to stay alive for such a long time, really play well alongside the rest of his team. I mean, Yonihi coming into the tournament really impressed me too. I mean, I talked a little bit about it, but I do think, especially when it comes to those 1v1 scenarios, he has played it really well.
I think he's probably, he is the MVP for that team, for sure. It was just, it was truly a marvel to watch him play. And even though he was so close against in his 1v1 against Bill, and even here in the pseudo 1v1, he managed to hold out for so long. He literally managed to go to the point where the enemy team got an extra assist. So he wins in my eyes. He's not out of it just yet. Neither is his team. Queen Fairy should definitely be mentioned as well for staying alive as long as possible. But it's just I can't not cast because that's kind of why I'm here. But I seem to be cursing them, and I really do feel remorse on this point.
It's still, as you said, though, not over for them just yet. A lot is on the line, as we've talked about repeatedly. Of course, even if they drop to the losers bracket, they can still fight their way through because they want to get that chance at making it to the final tournament, which will happen on the 26th of August, or the finals tournament, where they will get a shot at not only representing Europe, but also get themselves some good cash prizes. And they can still do it for the losers bracket. On the other side, of course, for Team Positive Vibes, really well done by them to make sure they advance. And just looking at the bracket overall, if they can keep up this performance, it's going to be looking good for them, because I would have to say the upper bracket of winners bracket does look a little more stacked.
I was about to disagree, but then I kind of, yeah, it's pretty stacked. But you can expect great things from these two teams. Well, I say two, because I'm looking at the one that is currently confirmed, Bad Intentions versus Papiano. Very much looking forward to seeing how that one will play out. But until then, I do believe we're going to have Magic Warriors versus Game of Throws. So, yeah, Magic Warriors. We saw them last time as well on Empathy, Intro, and Glacier. They are very, very strong players in their own right. There might be a kind of when last we saw them, the 3 versus 3s were a bit questionable, even without my Cast the Curse input. So we'll have to see how they have maybe adapted to that, maybe sort of played around any weaknesses, ironed out the creases. And of course, Game of Throws, we've seen these players before. Chevy, bit infamous in the Blade and Soul community, also a very competent Force Master player in their own right, and Exotics on that Blade Master. Honestly, I'm just happy that we have so many Blade Masters. It's really nice to see them again. It's really nice to see people explode in like 2 seconds flat. But other than that, the team compositions for the 3 versus 3s at least, it does seem to be favoring Magic Warriors, because Intro would switch onto that Warlock, which is such a strong pick in 3 versus 3. The Game of Throws are going to have a little bit of difficulty maybe adapting to that, especially because Magic Warriors have such safety with their team composition. The Blade Dancer can stall out for an incredible amount of time. Glacier on that Force Master, also huge stall potential and very good defensive assists as well. It's going to be tough for them, but I think they might have a shot at it in the 1 versus 1s if they play it correctly.
And it's going to be interesting to know, because, as you said, your boy Glacier, you would really love to see him actually perform, because we know he can do it. We know he can be a really, really good player. And so far, he just hasn't quite gone there yet in terms of the tournaments, in terms of these team formats. And hopefully this time around, we'll see what they're going to be able to do. I mean, Empathy, of course, he has had a really good run with Ugly Intentions last year. And Intro, of course, the Polish caster and player extraordinaire himself, will be opting in to play that Warlock for his team once the time comes. But now it's down to the wizard battles. Glacier versus Chevy in this first 1v1.
Force Master mirrors, my favorite. Also, lots of damage from the dual dragons. And
never mind.
Never mind. You see, yeah, this is the best. This is the best mirror match in the game, and I don't care what anyone says, because this is what we live for. This is why we're here. This is our purpose in life. Trying to get the heat waves onto each other, not successful. Phantom grabs missed as well. Backstep used defensively, but not out of a crowd control, so it'll only have a 12-second cooldown. Glacier will have that back quickly enough, although Chevy is in a very, very good position here with both of their escapes and the Divine Veil into the Force Blast onto Glacier. It's getting an opening here is probably one of the hardest, but there is the wallbang coming in from the Force Master, trying to get as much damage as possible with the dual dragons as well. But now Glacier launched into the air, grabbed out of the air. That was pretty cool to watch. Chevy.
Oh.
Now it's Chevy's turn to get all their health back.
But right now, this could be a potential opening for either of these Force Masters because those escapes are not available. Even though Frost Chief now will get proc, Chevy will stay safe for a while longer as the Veil did time out for Glacier instead as he is still at 100% HP. However, the stun will connect. Chevy finds it. Look for the potential launch, but the Frost Chief instead from the side of Glacier is going to keep him safe for now. But we'll see whether or not they can still find any particular openings because the second win is back up and available for Chevy. So. And now Glacier too.
Yeah,
So-
finding an opening in this matchup is probably one of the hardest points, but he does manage to actually get quite a bit of damage onto Chevy. Timely Frost Sheath, that could have been very bad. Still in a dominating position, and now against the wall, this looks like Glacier's game, but unfortunately for Glacier, never mind. Never mind. This is the mirror match of Neverminds, where several times we've been baited into thinking one thing, and then not. So
There was that, but still, well played by Glacier, as you said at the start. Oh, we lost so much HP. Never mind, he's back to full. Oh, Chevy's now without the second. Never mind, it's okay. So in the end, though, still we did see Glacier claim that first win on the board for his team, and with the next 1v1, it will be, I do believe, Empathy, or rather not Empathy, on the Blade Dancer versus Shinoichi. So Assassin versus Blade Dancer. This is one of these matchups where you would give the advantage to the Blade Dancer considering the amount of tools they have at their disposal in terms of getting that Assassin out of stealth. But looking at these two players in particular, what's going to be your take on it?
Dual Strike is really good. Dual Strike is really good. The now more standard approach to this matchup, backstepping into where you think the assassin is or where you briefly caught a glimpse of them and using Dual Strike, it's almost foolproof if the assassin themselves don't dodge that, because it's an 8-meter radius, unblockable daze. That's kind of really good because it ignores the evasion that the assassin would have within the stealth. That is the most important thing to try to avoid for Shiochi, and if they manage to do so, they might be in a good spot. But Empathy is no slouch to this matchup. He's fought against Ryuki before numerous times, and even won on quite a few of those occasions. So he's probably no slouch when it comes to this. We'll have to see exactly how he performs. But of course, the burst damage coming out from both of these, a single mistake can lead to either one's demise.
And we'll see who will get that early advantage potentially here, as already Empathy is going to pop that Guardian Tempest, look to get an opening 5-point strike, actually mitigated right now by Shinoichi. So
wind build.
So he's actually doing pretty well. And as you said, with the wind build, it's going to be interesting to see how much damage is going to be able to dish out here, as so far is going to continue to spin. Lotus of Escape out of the question, though, for the Assassin. And now with the grab potentially being available soon enough for Empathy, we'll see how he can get another potential advantage.
I'm very, very excited to see how this goes. The wind build burst damage is absolutely insane. Shiochi probably realizes this. He wants his flower down for that extra bit of safety. So he stalled out for quite a little bit of time. Guardian Tempest down for Empathy as well. Soaring Falcon does actually connect and forces a stealth out of Shiochi. Now, this is actually a pretty bad spot for him. If anything goes poorly, this could be very, very bad. He's holding onto the flower for now, gets launched into the air. I'm not sure that was a good idea. He should have flowered that grab because the wind slash comes out. Ooh, dearie me. That is a lot of damage. It's not quite as much as the lightning, but the real damage comes later on.
Oh, he tried to get the daze and the catch off of that tab escape, but it seems like it might still not matter. Shioichi now will be down to 30%. However, second one was used by the Blade Dancers as well. Who misses the Phantom Grab, so now opts him to actually land that Katie instead. However, stealth is back and available for the Assassin, so would potentially still see Empathy under a lot of trouble. Now launched up into the air, a lot of damage coming his way as well to get stunned up again. Poison Breath and everything else with the Bombard and Lightning Strike too. Ooh. Gets Empathy to 50%.
That is close. Empathy needs to be very careful. He does still have his second win available. He misses the dual strike. That's oh so pivotal skill. Tries to go for the backstab ankle biter as well. Guardian Tempest healing him up rather nicely into the 5-point strike. Oh no, Wind Slash might just end it there, and it does.
Beautifully done by Empathy to secure the win in the end, even though all of a sudden it wasn't looking too hot for him anymore. Still managed to keep his composure, played it out beautifully, and now with that, it's going to be a 2-point lead for Magic Warriors.
That was very, very well played. He knew exactly how to do it. He knew exactly what he needed to do. Reacting to 5-point strike is so challenging. It's the sort of thing that you don't really want to do unless it's the thing that you know is going to kill you. But even then, even with that knowledge, it's so difficult to do it. And even though Shiochi did have an escape available for when Empathy used that 5-point strike, by that point it was too late. And he knew he was trying to maybe save a bit of chi, maybe try to do some fancy stuff here, but using the Blitzblade midair was just enough damage to make sure that the guaranteed crit of Wind Slash would be enough to finish Shiochi off. Good comeback.
And now with that 2-point lead, even if they lose this next tag team matchup, they can still, of course, win the series because that would bring us to a 2-2 point score line. So we'll see whether or not that will be the case, because right now I do have to say Magic Warriors seem on point.
Yeah, it's looking very strong for them. Certainly a better showing than they had the last time that they were here. And that's very reassuring because they're now showing us exactly what they are truly capable of. And that's very good for numerous reasons. Most importantly, the entertainment value, but also because they'll actually get further and maybe have a chance to go up against one of the other juggernaut teams that we have currently competing.
And at this point, especially considering the rest of the remaining teams in the winner's bracket, if they advance, they're definitely not going to have it any easier down the line. But we'll see if that will happen. Of course, Game of Thrones still has a chance at redemption and making it for the winner's bracket themselves instead. Of course, it's going to be very difficult. However, we'll find out soon enough whether or not they can pull this one through. And considering both of these team setups, knowing that, okay, traditionally Intro is playing that Warlock more for that team aspect rather than the class itself. What are your thoughts on this 3 versus 3 matchup?
It's going to be hard to try to keep Intro alive, I think, with only the Force Master save available. The Blade Dancer one really isn't anywhere near as good as it used to be. It exists, but it's not as good. The Sword Shroud is kind of... Well, yeah, it exists, I think, is the best way of putting it. So they need to be very careful. If Intro dies, that's a huge layer to their composition that they've lost. They no longer have the aerial damage. They no longer have the time distortion to reset cooldowns for the team. It's overall just a very... It would be terrible to lose Intro early. If it's later on, maybe. But early on, you absolutely have to keep everyone alive, especially the Warlock. So I would not want to see him lead. I would maybe want to see Empathy lead.
That's fair. Would you say because it's mostly because of the Frost Chief comparison, why you would put him instead of Anthrax?
Yes. If you do that first, then you won't have that available. It'll be too risky to try and attempt that. You'll instead be forced into this weird situation of saving the person trying to assist you, which is kind of that usually works the other way, I would imagine. So keeping the Force Master on the back line for the moment anyway is going to be most beneficial for them.
And of course, also remember there is a lot on the line for not only both of these teams, but also the rest of the teams left in the tournament. This is their last chance at securing themselves a spot for the LAN finals, which will be happening at the ESL UK Studios in Leicester on the 26th of August. And with that, they will not only have a shot at getting a lot of cash prizes, but also a chance to represent Europe during Worlds. So far, considering the fact that we already know we have locked in Goblin Spiders and Team Bai, even though Bad Intentions and Team Papiano are seemingly the teams to beat right now, considering how good Team Positive Vibes have been playing too, and even now Magic Warriors, I really don't know who to call out as the next two to go through with this tournament.
It's certainly very, very tough to say right now. With the way that things have been going so far, Bad Intentions 4-0 sweep, Papiano 4-0 sweep. For one of these teams, it will change. So it's definitely tough to call. Again, as I said, the last preliminary tournament, I would be happy with really any of these teams going through to try and represent us. We've seen such incredible performances, and from people that we maybe don't necessarily expect, or that we maybe haven't seen as much of compared to the affable juggernauts that we have come to know and love. Even still, it's gone well.
And we'll see whether or not Magic Warriors can close this one out, or whether or not we can actually have this time around a win on the board for the side of Game of Thrones. And so far, it is going to be the Assassin versus Force Master in the opener. We'll see what Glacier can really do. They do have a lot of tools available against that Assassin in terms of getting him out of stealth. Nicely timed there. Make sure that he mitigates the assist coming through on the side of Game of Thrones with that armor. And now, still having that escape available, should be staying pretty safe at the very least for now. But as I say that, both tab escapes actually popped.
Yeah, Glacier needs to be very careful here. He only has his backstep available, but Shiochi in an even worse spot. Getting caught out now. Definitely needs to be saved. Luckily, very, very timely assist there by Chevy. Otherwise, that could have been easily his death. Tags out into Exotics, who immediately gets grabbed and thrown against the wall, but unable to follow it up. Glacier now in a bit of a rough spot. Flock of Blades used, unfortunately, well, fruitlessly, because Glacier is now just gonna chill out, quite literally.
Hey. The reset was there. Intro came through with a time distortion, or use of that time distortion to make sure Glacier has a full reset, full HP, all those different cooldowns. But now Exotics actually is going to land that Soaring Falcon, force that tab escape. A lot of damage could be coming through, but instead, oh, he still manages to find it. Actually, even with the assist, a lot of damage was going to come through, as we will see Glacier forced to tag out.
Yeah, Exotics against Intro. Against the Warlock, it's not exactly a great matchup, especially since Warlock's dimensional volleys and salvos ignore parry. So he will opt to tag out into Chevy. There's still a lot of assists on the board, still quite a few tag outs. We're going to be fairly even, but Chevy does get the preferable position onto Intro with that Frost Burst, getting a good setup into the Phantom Grip, into the wall.
Oh no!
Oh no!
At this point, just like you said, it's so important for Magic Warriors to keep in terms of their strategy, to make sure they keep Intro safe. But now Glacier is going to be able to heal back up, and he's going to have to be the key member here for Magic Warriors. With such a big deficit when it comes to those HP pools, it's going to be a tough ask of them for a potential win, especially now that the assist came through. Glacier, though, will manage to stay safe for now. And with that final assist, Exotics does have one final one left. However, Empathy has none to his name. Instead, it's going to be Intro coming in with a reset, making sure he gets healed up just a little bit. Glacier getting all those cooldowns back up as well. And we'll see the tag out, or rather the swap here for Game of Thrones. Shioichi back into play.
Well, it's a bit of a rough spot, but Intro can probably heal it up over the course of the match. They just need to be very, very careful. Empathy no longer has any assists left on him, and Intro only has a single one. But Glacier still has all of them. If he were to die here, that would be devastating. And he certainly needs to be very careful, because he'll only have his backstep up shortly, and oh no, there's the backstep available for him. But it's a rough spot either way for Magic Warriors.
42% HP left for Glacier, even lower right now. And he will be tagging out. He does have 3 assists. No more tag outs available. Instead, it's going to be Empathy with 2 tag outs, respectively. He did try to find an opening with the Blitz Blade. Wasn't able to land anything just yet, as we'll see Chevy should be the one to come into play here for the side of Game of Thrones. Will be stunned up, so already forced to use that tab escape. However, soon enough with those ultimates coming into play, we'll see whether or not those will be the deciding factor in this matchup, as so far Empathy has had a relatively good time in the matchup. However, now with that grab being mitigated, the use of that Frost Armor, it's going to be able to just disengage for now and look to stall things out, potentially just wait for another opening instead.
The nerfs to the Phantom Grab animation have certainly made it a lot easier to react to, but that goes both ways for both the Force Masters and Blade Dancers. Managing to get a little bit of a good, actually a very good opener onto Chevy now with that 5-point strike after the Wind Slash, but his teammate is so on it. Shiochi with those party saves, very timely. Still in a pretty rough spot, even though Magic Warriors Empathy has healed up a heck of a lot. It's still very difficult for them because at any one given moment, this can happen. The Searing Slash into the huge aerial damage as well. Exotics now on the back foot, gonna use those flock of blades. The Lightning Rod cancelled Intro's ultimate. That was a great choice by Exotics. Well played.
That could have been really dangerous, but it's still potentially just as dangerous, as he will be thrown up into the air. However, he did manage to stay safe for now. Empathy only having actually no more seconds left in terms of his time in the arena, and now Intro in a really tough spot. The ultimate actually coming through, but misses it out. Unfortunate. That would have been definitely a kill for the side of the Game of Thrones, and that's exactly what they need. They want this win on the board. They want to equalize things up right now, but with Empathy back into play, this will be looking good for them.
Oh god, wow, that's the wind build burst that we were talking about, the multi-slash into the instant rolling typhoon. Shiochi went from almost full to 65% in less than a second. You definitely don't want to have that happen to you consistently, especially with how low a cooldown multi-slash actually is. It might actually even be good for Empathy to just sort of throw it out, because it does track really, really well in the same fashion as 5-point strike. So Shiochi could actually get knocked out of stealth by him doing that. Now, bit of a stalemate. Not really able to do too much, but Empathy is always going to have that sword shot. And Guardian Tempest back again. With the ultimate, keeping him up, and Shiochi's going to bite the dust. Very well.
Wow.
Magic Warriors pulling it back.
Empathy on point. This is exactly the type of play I love to see out of this guy, even from last year. Even the Giga Blade. I mean, that's well deserved. Easy kill. I mean, talk about those aerial setup with the kills, with the ultimates. When it comes to the assassins, I mean, Empathy on point still, but now Glacier's going to be the one to come into play, even though we do see Exotics try to do something with his respective ultimate. Will be unsuccessful. Instead, Magic Warriors just on a tear right now, looking to get that final kill on the board and secure themselves another win in terms of these tournaments, and perhaps just get one step closer towards that victory, or rather that winners bracket finals.
He's trying, he's holding on, but it's really, really hard. Both the stuns have been used, but there's the multi-slash, forcing out a second win from Exotics, but he gets caught by Empathy again! Empathy is just... wow, he won that for them. Hands down, his play was phenomenal. The way that he set up the aerial for that Force Master ultimate, the way that he set up his own ultimate, the Giga Blade, and then he was just like, I'm going to make you tab, and I'm going to catch you after it anyway. He's ruthless.
And it's not just that, right? Because they were at a deficit overall in that matchup. We did see Game of Thrones actually get an advantage at the start, but Empathy being the man of the hour right now for Magic Warriors, coming in, stalling for such a long time, building up all those advantages for their team, instead really made sure that they did get the win in the end. And as said, a lot is on the line. This is going to be the last shot for all these teams in order to make sure they qualify, or rather secure themselves a spot in, or rather for those finals, which will be going on the 26th of August, for not only a lot of cash prizes, but also the opportunity to represent Europe for the World Championship. So It's been an absolutely insane, just back-to-back series, time and time again. And now with Magic Warriors advancing in that winner's brackets, we have so many spicy matchups coming your way soon enough. But before that, we will be going over to a 10-minute break, but you definitely don't want to miss out on the next upcoming matches.
With the time of the World Championships fast approaching, the best Blade and Soul players in North America took their shot at a chance to represent the region at Korea. In the first of 2 preliminary qualifiers, only 2 teams would advance, and from the very first game, Team Happy stated their intentions.
For this Soul Fighter, will that HP buff keep him protected? But no, the damage is so strong!
You could see that players were starting off shaky, with former representatives Guardian knocked out in round 1 in surprising fashion. 2 games later, Bag T and Whose Mans Is This showed us just how important it is to time your assists, with Twizzy being taken down while trying to assist Dark. The Blitz now gets a wedge off, but in comes the assist. Oxtra just calls the boys because he needed it, but so did Dark. So did Dark, and it looks as though Twizzy's been taken out amidst all that. Poar now is the one who comes in for the side of Bag T. It's 3v2. While that was going on, Hank, he was taken down. In goes Jiyoung Park. That's Frozone, who's just stuck in the air at the moment. Poan doing his best circus impression, juggling him up in the air. Not only was there wonderful esports on display, the games were always entertaining in one way or another. In this Summoner Mirror match, both Oxtra and Plubel proved that great minds think alike, timing their sleeps at exactly the same time, sending everyone in the chat and the casters into hysterics.
Assuming the roots aren't actually going to do all the work, am I right, Oxtra? And we see the sleeping done on both sides, so as I said, summoners, man, they can heal like crazy. What makes it even better is when your opponent's summoner heals you.
In the next game, there was more than a game on the line. There was pride. De Beers sees that Akito has used his escapes and pulls the trigger on a massive engage, taking the round and the title of the better assassin. It's another bombard into the close shade. This time it's Akito. De Beers just needs to be wary of that one. Throws out the poison breath. Will actually collect Akito here. Just get a little bit of that dot damage going. There's the fire mine we were talking about. And goes back in and starts dealing some damage. Close shade for good measure. Now into the stealth. Back out. So much damage. The bombard goes into the aerial. And now Akito gets swept. He is in trouble. The Lotus is up barely. Finally, it comes back up at the Bears. In the winner's bracket grand final, Happy were looking to continue their dominant streak and secure a spot at the LAN finals. There was fantastic sportsmanship shown by Poan, letting Zack summon his cat, but his kindness proved to be his undoing as the summoner's sustained power was way too much for the gunner in the end.
Guys, it seems, and Zack seems he cannot win from here. So much for all that talk. The escape gets used, the root is there, but you have to have the chance to summon your cat right there. Poe is just standing.
Oh, you said Poan, that's where he struggles sometimes, as he stays way too long up in the air, but I've got to say, I want to give a big sportsmanship pat on the back to Poan, who's now probably going to lose this game. It is going to. These games had everything, even deja vu. The impossible happened as two summoners managed to CC each other at exactly the same time again. Our pounds left. Oxtra still has retreat. There's just so much going on screen at the moment. Zach, he needs to round this game out, and looks like both the pouncers at exactly the same time again! What is happening? In the final game of the day, Bag T had their second chance of the day to qualify, but Guardian stood in their way. After finding their footing after an early elimination and a shaky start, they progressed through to the LAN finals in the UK. The alcohol coming through Aikini. There we go, actually catching him out with the Frost Palm combo now going in. In comes, looks like Yasuni. Congratulations to both Happy and Guardian on their success in Week 1 of the Blade & Soul World Championship North American qualifiers. Make sure to assemble your crew, as there is one more chance to qualify on August the 3rd. Sign up now at esports.bladeandsoul.com. In the second last week of July, Europe's best Blade & Soul players assembled their teams for a chance to represent the region at the World Championships. In the first preliminary week, teams wasted no time in putting on a spectacle, starting with this 2% clutch play from Ryuki.
This could be very bad. The dual dragon's already connecting in the meteors.
Oh.
Well, 2%. He just needs like one hit more to get it. But he's stalling for time with the Frost Armor. He knows it's too risky to try and hit Ryuki out. The flower is down, but he might not get to use it if Intro plays this correctly.
Ooh, this is gonna be so close, but he does get the stun. He needs to somehow survive, dance around his opponent. Ice Flower was procced, but Intro, just one hit could be enough. Ryuki somehow still in the game at 3% HP, does manage to find another CC. No tab escape for Intro. Can Ryuki make a huge comeback happen as the stun will connect again? Follows it up with the second one. So many CCs on the board for the stun. He gets the air actually connection, and Ryuki wins!
With not only a spot at LAN finals up for grabs, but also guaranteed prize money, there was a lot to play for. Bad Intentions continued to be the entertainers, with veteran player Mr. B putting his fearsome destroyer up against fellow tournament regular Luki, taking the fight down to a single hit.
Well then, managing to launch Mr. B up into the air, getting great return damage, and Mr. B doesn't actually have any defensive cooldowns. He got Gust up just now, but Ember Stomp was there just in time.
Close.
Is it gonna be
close.
a battle of the cleaves? Oh!
Stone shields and everything in between. Searing tries to get popped. No, the deflect! Out of all the things to close this one out.
With scores tied and the all-important 3v3 rolling around, tensions were high between Bad Intentions and Papa Enol. Sensing that Tenor had no cooldowns, Papa Enol used precision timing to capitalize with a perfect tag-in execute.
Used to deal a little bit of damage, force out some escapes from Tenor, and now
a little bit. Maybe you meant a lot of damage, as we will see Papiano pick up that first kill.
Luki and Mr. B met yet again on the battlefield, and this time the loser went home. Learning from their last encounter, Luki was able to get the drop on Mr. B and keep his team's hopes alive.
Pops out quite a bit of damage, persistence used on both sides, but Gust will soon enough be available for Luki, and that's when things will potentially seal things up for him, as 9%, 6% for Mr. B. Luki, he's so close to winning this one for his team. He's so close for making sure that Papiano advances for the losers bracket. 6% still healing just a little bit, but no!
He gets it! He gets it!
When a Blade Master goes up against a gunslinger, it's generally pretty one-sided. In order to avoid an almost certain death by ranged weapon, Zay of Papi Enol pulled off a miraculous deflect ground pound to flip the switch on his opponent, sending the casters into awe.
We'll see how effective he can really be.
Another deflect!
Moment as he will get the knockdown. He will get the stun again!
This guy! How do you keep it? Okay, we're back to old Blade Master ground game apparently. Don't you
know? Oh, second win now finally forced out at the very least, but 35% is all Ace 5 has left to his name, and Zay so close to finishing this off. Oh, sorry, Falcon attempting to re-engage. He gets the knockdown.
No way!
He gets the launch and the finisher, Zay again.
Nerves were definitely high, and even the best succumbed to the simplest mistakes. Here, Ace 5 sees an easy window of opportunity and takes it.
Looking really badly in this matchup.
Oh!
No! What?
Did he just walk up slowly?
In the final game of the day, Team Bai and Papiano took the series all the way. Both on 4 points and with a lot to play for, teams were relentless in their gameplay. But in the end, only one of the two Titans could advance.
Available though, of course, for the side of Team Bai, and with that, it's going to be the time distortion coming through. Luki caught up, but he will continue to spin. He cannot win off of it though, as we will see Ace 5 close the series.
Congratulations to both Team Bai and Goblin Spiders on their success in Week 1 of the Blade & Soul World Championship European Qualifiers. Make sure to assemble your crew, as there is one more chance to qualify on all.
It was kind of a dream to play esports.
Hello and welcome to the Blade & Soul Europe.
I wanted to compete in Korea. That was like my goal, in top of EU. And then I achieved that, and it was really exciting to be there.
To be honest, we didn't expect to win regionals. We were like, yo, we can actually do this.
That's what I mean, 10 out of being 10.
And it motivated us, and we like kept going, and we wanted to prove that we can stand our ground against people, right?
I just told myself I will be there one day. Looking up to good players in EU, I got better myself, got into the community and helped each other out, improved over time.
You learn more from a loss than from a win. Play to improve, not to win.
Get good, make a team, and have a great time with us.
It's a great experience.
To every player that has come this far, I have seen your commitment. I have seen your sacrifices. All of this. This is for you.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to day 1 of the Europe 2nd preliminary for the Blade & Soul World Championship Qualification Tournament. My name is Brunch, joined of course by the one and only Barney, and so far it's been very exciting. We already have our top 4 teams, at the very least for the winners bracket, decided. We'll see how that one will fold, or rather turn out soon enough. However, in the meantime, we'll be moving over to the losers bracket, where it's going to be first team timeout versus free win coming your way.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see these two teams play it out against each other. Of course, you know, timeout had some unfortunate, a bit of an unfortunate start against Team Playlist, but you know, maybe they'll have a bit of a better. It's really hard to speak in this heat. They'll have a bit of a better time. There we go, against the likes of Free Win, especially since Free Win had the unfortunate task of having to go against Bad Intentions as their first seed, and you know, we'll have to. Well, I hope that they'll give us a good show at least.
Of course, do remember we are still sitting at the 4-set mix and match setup for now, as we will eventually be moving on to the semifinals and finals, where things will be swapped over to the 8-set mix and match instead. So 1v1s will be awarding teams 1 point, and 3 versus 3s will be awarding teams with 2 points respectively. And of course, as said previously, a lot is on the line for all these different teams, because we already have our 2 first teams from the first preliminary tournament decided. However, tomorrow we will see who will be joining them, as we'll have our upper bracket winner and lower bracket winner. And not only will they get to go out to the finals tournament on August 26th for a chance at cash prizes, but also the opportunity to represent Europe at the World Championships.
And of course, the money that you can earn from this endeavor is also pretty nice to get on the side. as well as the recognition of your fellow peers that you are in fact, well, qualified to do so, to be in that position. You know, it's pretty good.
And unfortunately, I do believe we have some sad news. I think Team Free Win will be living up to their name, and they will be forfeiting. I'm not quite sure. We're waiting currently on the referees to see what exactly is the situation, but I do believe Akbar is having some issues, unfortunately. However, I do wish them the best of luck if that is the case, and hopefully nothing too rough going on over there. But of course, if we will have the matchup underway, we'll see a lot more of Linne on that Soul Fighter. So it's been a treat to watch. And the 1v1s has played it out really well. It was the tag team where they really need to be a bit more resourceful when it comes down to using those escapes at a timely manner.
Definitely. It's nice to hold on to it and think, yeah, I'm fine. I can hold on to this. You can't react in time to some combinations that people can throw your way. So you definitely need to use your second win first, then contemplate whether it was a good idea or not.
So we'll see how they're going to be able to do that in the future, because coming up next, instead, I do believe it's going to be Game of Thrones versus Playlist. So two teams that have shown some really good signs overall. Of course, I did like out of Team Playlist what they were able to do with the likes of Yoni. He on that Kung Fu Master has shown to be exceptional in the 1v1 department in particular. Even Queen Fairy, of course, still really strong. But what is your take on this matchup?
It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. I would prefer, in this particular instance, for Hawkid to go onto his Gunslinger with the threat of a Force Master on the opposing team. You need to have a way to to deal with that easily, and the Kung Fu Master and Assassin are going to be in a lot of trouble from the Frost Orbits. They're not going to be able to initiate as much as they would have wanted to. It's going to be hard to find an opening. Or indeed, if they get an opening, they might freeze themselves and be in a worse position than if they had done nothing. Whereas the Gunslinger doesn't care because they're ranged. And also, Unload, Undertaker, Shadow Build is an option, especially against Force Masters. Undertaker does not care about Divine Veil. Neither does the Unload either. So it's a reliable way to damage the Force Masters without having to worry about that too much. The Blade Master is going to struggle a lot, especially against the Assassin of Shiochi. It would be tragic if Hawkhead chose to play Blade Master in the 3 versus 3, because that is not. I would not do that.
Well, he did play it so far today, and unfortunately for them, it didn't quite find the success they needed. So I would imagine, especially considering, as you said, the matchup at hand and the fact that they will have to face off against that Force Master, you would see him play that Gunslinger. We'll see when the time comes. In the meantime, of course, remember, it is going to be 2 1v1s before we get to that 3 versus 3 stage. So when it comes to the 1v1s, again, while he has 1 point, it's not as much as that 2 points from the 3 versus 3. But if you get those 2 wins on the board already, having a 2-0 lead is so important, because even if you lose out the 3 versus 3, it's fine. You have another shot at making it through.
The safety net that it grants you is it's just nice to have. It means that you have fewer things to worry about. And if the 3 versus 3 goes abysmally, which, as we have discovered, I don't think any team is completely immune to. There have been times with even the best of teams, even the juggernauts that have such a massive reputation behind them, they have times when they just get completely, swamped in the 3 versus 3, and it was almost unavoidable. Having that safety net would help prevent that from being the final 3 versus 3.
Because that's, again, another thing too. because now we are at the stage where we're in the losers bracket. The team that goes out here is out. You're not going to be able to qualify at all for the finals, which will be going on the 26th. And to start it all out between these two, it is going to be Shochi versus Yonihi, Sin versus KFM, and traditionally it's been one-sided, but of course with all of the recent addition throughout the last year, Kung Fu Masters in definitely a better spot to contest that 1v1 win.
Still, it's gonna be interesting to see exactly how this plays out, but with the team composition that they have, it's gonna be difficult, especially in the 3 versus 3s. For the 1 versus 1s, Assassin versus Kung Fu Master. Well, why would you ever agree to this? If you had the choice as a Kung Fu Master, you'd never agree to this. However, it's not as bad as it historically used to be. It seems that every single subsequent patch, Kung Fu Master gets an additional way to deal with what Assassin has. So with Gale Fist, if that hits an Assassin while they're in stealth, it's a free 2-second stun. Now they have the ability to use their strafe without a target. That's also very useful. And, you know, it could be good. It could be bad. It's anyone's guess. But both these players, the way that Yonihi has been playing so far, leads me to believe that he might have a pretty solid advantage going into this one.
And I think that's the more important factor here. It's that he has been the most, or rather the biggest threat coming out of this team in the 1v1 so far, right? His performance has been on point, even though he had a clutch moment and lost versus Bill. It was still really well played overall, and with those few small improvements could really push him to the edge to become what his team really needs to get those wins on the board. So we'll see whether or not that's going to happen, as both of these teams are going to, or rather both of these players are going to be ready soon enough in about 20 seconds. And if it comes to it in terms of the opener, what's the best case scenario going to be looking at for the Kung Fu Masters, since it is a matchup that should favor the Assassin?
I don't really think you can get an opener on Assassin in this situation. Usually going for the instantaneous flurry is a good choice, but the Assassin could just instantly stealth and deny you that opener entirely. So it's more reacting to the Assassin's opener. Should Shiochi go for that safe opener? He hasn't, actually, surprisingly.
So we'll see if that will play into Yonihi's favor, as actually the Rising Dragon will secure an aerial launch for now, looking to do even more so, forcing out the Lotus of Escape for now out of his opponent, and already looking really good for Team Playlist. Eventually get one win on the board. However, with the re-stealth coming into play, Shiochi can find an opening himself too, as he does get the daze into the air launch as well.
Yeah, he's opting for the Venom Swarm here. You know, disabling the counter of the Kung Fu Master. Pretty good idea, I guess, especially since Kung Fu Master's block can be quite annoying.
Oh!
Yeah, he actually counters Really? You can counter High Wire? I guess you can. You learn something new every day. So with the Searing Palm now applied onto Shiochi, this is looking very bad. He almost drops the combo, but picks him back up with Smite. Gonna go for the Flying Slam as well. Big damage. This is looking very grim. Gets the flurry on him as well. This should be simple enough. Yonihi. Woof. Damn, boy.
You were questioning why this matchup or why Yonihi, but I mean, there you go. There you have it. That is exactly why. And with that, they will be claiming that first win on the board. Team Playlist, when the 1 point is going to be looking good, because again, this is going to be it. The team to lose here is out. So you definitely don't want to be in that position. Game of Thrones really need to pick it up, step it up if they are to remain through the lower bracket.
Even still, that was very well played by Yonihi there. The amount of just the way that he masterfully played around it, around everything the Assassin had, and he didn't even need Gale Fist. He didn't need his counter either, because it was disabled by Venom Swarm. So it was so very skillful is the best way to term it. It was very skillful. The way that he It looked for a brief moment like he dropped the combo, but he didn't. It was all planned. He meant to use that smite on him after the tech roll. That's where it went really, really south for Shiochi. Unable to place the flower as well. Ooh, that is unlucky.
Well, we'll see if Game of Thrones can turn things around, because coming up next, it is going to be Chevy versus Hawkid, who will be playing, I do believe, the Blade Masters. So, Force Master versus Blade Master, you talked about how, at the very least, in the 3 versus 3 side of things, you want to see Hawkid on that Gunslinger, but now in the 1v1, what are your expectations?
Well, he'll probably stay on Blade Master. It's not too bad in the 1 versus 1 scenarios. You can get a lot of leverage if you manage to burn all of the escapes, but there are a lot of them, and there is a lot of ice to stall with.
We'll see who can get a potential good opener here, as so far we'll have Hawkid stay safe, and Chevy answers in return as well. Both of them just showing off their defensive options right now. Stare down, if you will, as the Veil will be popped as well, but the daze into the air launch is actually going to connect off of the 5-point strike. So now Chevy potentially going to be in a tough spot, as right now we'll have him force out that tab escape, and with the return fire going through onto Hawkid, he's going to use his tab escape as well. So things could be looking really badly for both of these players, but shoulder charge will not quite do enough, as so far he will find the, oh, never mind, it's actually the Frost Burst instead. We'll get that easy setup.
Well, my neighborhood is very lively today, but other than that, Hawkid is getting absolutely decimated now because he has no second wind, and the dual dragons and the relaunch. And I think the police might be headed here, because this is against terms of service. That was yikes.
And when things were looking slightly better for Hawkid at the start, nope, never mind. Chevy was on point and really showed us why you would like to see Hawkid on something like a Gunslinger instead, I guess.
And although I received some very private information that apparently Undertaker doesn't go through Divine Veil, I guess Caster's Curse is now extending to more than just that. However, Unload does still go through that, and Undertaker is still really, really good. So, my point stands. Point is, the other point rather, that was kind of dreadful. The way that turned out, it was looking kind of good, but with how difficult it is for a Blade Master to actually initiate onto the Force Master, I can see why Hawkid went for the Dazed Shoulder Charge. But it's worse than the iframe, so don't do that. It's not that great. You don't get to use it that often anyway because of the Frost Orbits. Disabling charge anyway, whereas the other one gives you an iframe for 1.5 seconds that goes into Cyclone, and if you hit the enemy with it, you get 10% of your health back. It's kind of a poor choice on that part, but very well played from Chevy. That was just a very, very dominant performance.
And that is going to be very important, because that brings us to a 1-to-1 point tie, and with that, the winner of the next 3 versus 3 will secure themselves another chance at making it for the losers bracket, whereas the loser, of course, will be knocked out. So very important here for both of these teams to make sure they do get the win on the board. And next up, in terms of who they're going to face, it is going to be a tough opponent no matter what, because all of the other teams in the winners bracket are really dangerous. But for now, more importantly, they need to focus on the task at hand. And with these two teams, with the 3 versus 3 setup, who are you going to be looking out for in terms of being the person to look out for in terms of landing kills and securing that win?
Hawkid if he goes for a Gunslinger. Chevy if that's not the case. Chevy has actually proven themselves to be very adept at taking advantage of situations, and although they had a bit of a rough ride against the Glacier, Force Master mirrors, that's just the nature of them. That's just kind of how it goes. But when that's no longer the case, countering a Force Master with other classes is very, very difficult. You can't really do anything. If the Force Master decides to stay in their ice for the maximum amount of time, you just kind of have to respect that. You can't do anything about it. So it's going to be very, very good. But I want to see Yonihi do, as well as he has been so far.
And he's gonna have a tough ask, or tough task even at that, because Chevy is gonna be the one to come out in the opener here for the side of Team Playlist, as so far he's gonna be able to stay safe with all those different defensive options, not only the Frost Sheath, but even the Frost Armor. And now trying to preemptively catch his opponent off guard is not gonna be the case so far, as the Flurry will be the use here by Yoni Hiso. So looking for that opening, gets the airline, so that's pretty good, but the Veil is still down, so right now we'll have an assist come through out of the side of Exotics as well, making sure that Chevy is still safe. The Fighting Spirit's still active, so Chevy still taking quite a bit of damage.
Oh no, that's quite, that could have been very, very, very dangerous with that assist coming in from Hawkid. But you know, teammates are always ready. Shiochi came in to assist, as well as Exotics, and now dancing around. But I mean, Searing Slash was used, but I don't see his health going down. Yoni, his resists are on point today, and he's actually managing to dance around the Blade Master, who's usually the one doing dancing. Unfortunately, Tremor does go wide. Comes in with that Lotus Kick, does actually force out the second win. Oh, the instant tag out into the flying star on Shiochi. This is looking very, very bad. But now Yoni here up against the wall, getting a lot of damage against him, being swapped out into the open as well. Huge damage. Oh my goodness, 13%. Only 9 seconds left on him. Is he going to stay in and survive long enough? He kind of has to. 4 seconds. He doesn't want to waste his tag out because he's going to have to. He can't risk it.
Oh, that was looking so good for him. I was about to praise him for not even having to use that tab escape all that time, but now being punished will be looking better here for their opponents. We'll see what Game of Thrones can still secure themselves the win, because so far they do have the advantage with that Comfort Master being so low. However, Shiochi still looking for an opening. It's going to be Queen Fairy on the other side, so in return he might take quite a bit of damage himself, but with that being said, he will be forced to tag out instead. Exotics will be the one to come into play. Yoni back in, but why? Because he's down at 5%, still alive. But the question is for how long? He really needs to get out, because it's going to be very dangerous. Oh, actually going in for a lot of PV damage, especially since the Fighting Spirit is there. I mean, I don't know what he's doing, but it's working out kinda, as the damage was still good and somehow managing to stay alive. He should surely tag out now.
Wait. I'm sorry, you tell me he came in with no second win, with the wrong build, and he got Exotics to 40% health? Am I dreaming? Is this real life? Goodness. He's playing out of his mind. He has no tag outs available, but he has plenty of assists, and he's going to try and look for it. However, Queen Fairy's stealth already forced out from the assist of Chevy. But now Chevy, no assists left on him, and only 1 assist left on Shiochi. Queen Fairy now, some pretty good situation. Only the flower available, but it is still enough. Goes in, actually forces the proc of his stealth. The Bombard doing huge damage, and Exotics tags out just before Lightning Rod hits.
Oh, now Team Playlist in prime position to potentially advance here, as both Exotics and Church is pretty low, but actually Yoni is still coming back in. We'll have that Fighting Spirit still active for a while, but not long enough. He does have that second win. He cannot tag out, so this time he's gonna try to go with the ultimate attack. Actually, what? No way! Yoni, what? Okay. Yoni, stop! Just stop! This is not okay. Oh, he's still alive. No, what?
Still alive?
Okay,
how are you
this
still alive?
guy is absolutely monstrous. But now, as he's still alive, can he complete the triple? Can he actually get the kill on Exotics as well? This will secure themselves, of course. The heal off of the Rising Dragon, he might do it. He gets another stun follow up. He doesn't have the second window, so he needs to play this one out patiently. He gets the air launch, 50%, and that is the hat trick.
Unbelievable. Wow. That was absolutely unbelievable. This person's playing out of their mind. I can't even. I don't know how he did it. And I don't know. I think my phone rang. I think that was the police. Maybe they were telling me that this isn't legal. That's fine too. Yoni, I applaud you completely and utterly phenomenal. If you keep playing like that, you're gonna have a spot in the finals.
I mean, we talked about it. They are pretty much the player to look out for this team, the highlights. And I mean, that's a highlight reel right there. Easy clips for days.
Easy clips. Wow.
And with that, of course, Game of Thrones will be knocked out of the tournament. Unfortunately for them, well played throughout. However, they still need to step it up if they are to advance in the future for a potential spot at representing Europe. It's not going to happen this time. Still, was nice to see some of their plays coming through, and they kept it pretty competitively. It was looking quite good for them, but when you have the likes of Yoni, I guess things like that can happen. So unfortunate for them. Means that on the other side, fortunately for Team Playlist, they will be advancing through the losers bracket.
I'm still in shock from that one. It's still so very difficult to formulate other thoughts and sentences after viewing that veritable massacre from someone who was on such low health, on the cusp of death, with the wrong build, with no escape, and still manages to... Oh, wow.
Was it the wrong build, though? With all that PV? I'm kidding. Of course, yeah, it was it was very fortunate that they managed to stay alive for that long, even in that situation, and that it actually worked out in their favor, managing to dish out the damage instead for the side of Team Playlist. So congratulations to them. They will be advancing, as said, through that losers bracket, and with so much on the line, it's really important that they keep up this performance. And if they do keep it up, as you said, I mean, they can very well find themselves in that losers bracket finals. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. But still, with that amount of just talent being on display, they've certainly showed that they can be in the runnings for the top spot. It'll still be very, very difficult, but to pull off a feat like that, that's impressive. Now over to the next match, I guess. Timeout versus Paramount. We get to see more of that Soul Fighter, which is I'm always happy to see that. And of course, Nick on Team Paramount on that Kung Fu Master last preliminary tournament, he had a very, very strong showing. He was actually quite dominant, and probably showed himself to be the best player on the team at that time. He's a little bit less fortunate this time around, but hopefully he'll be able to, pull back, get back into his stride, and find his way. Especially if he gets into a bit of an awkward Kung Fu mirror match, which I don't think is going to happen. In fact, it probably won't happen. But it'll still be challenging nonetheless. Being put into this position, you risk elimination. So it's not ideal, to say the least.
Well, it is not going to happen for now, because it is going to be Linne opening things up here for the side of Team Timeout, whereas Paramount will be sending out KFM Nick as their starter for that first 1v1 setup. So Kung Fu Master versus Soul Fighter, definitely not something we've seen, because we haven't just seen Soul Fighters in general. So with the recent changes, you talked especially about things such as the Earth build for Soul Fighter, really now having all those different changes with the likes of Ripple Punch and such, potentially favoring them. What is your take on this matchup?
Well, it's always been rather... My neighborhood today, goodness me, what is happening? My take on it is that it's always been somewhat favorable for the Soul Fighter. The counter that they have available to them, the free stun it gives. Kung Fu Master is probably one of the few matchups where you don't necessarily need to have the 1.5 second iframe after the counter, so you can instead opt for the stun counter instead, and that's very, very devastating. That has caused many a Kung Fu Master problems, especially now with the fact that they don't even need to, the Soul Fighter doesn't even need to rely on that in order to get an opening onto Kung Fu Master. Being able to use Howling Blast out in the open, being able to guarantee that they can't block, that they have to take the damage on the ground. If Linne does opt for the Earth build, A knockdown into an instantaneous King Fist is a lot of unavoidable damage, essentially. You do not want to be on the receiving end of that. But if he goes for the safe ice build, it's still the ice build. You still have a lot of aerial damage, a lot of safe damage. And should the need arise, Froststorm, even though it's slower than it was before, it is still quite a force to be reckoned with if you let all of the ticks hit you.
And the only real glaring issue coming out of Line is the most obvious one, the one of, okay, you definitely don't want to hold out as long to that tab escape, but with such greedy play, do you think that's going to be favoring him in this matchup as well?
It could. Again, this Kung Fu Master, who also only has one escape, holding onto it might be beneficial. It's happened to the best of players where they use the tab escape, they daze the opponent, they think, I'm about to do something to this opponent. I'm gonna hit with massive damage, and the opponent uses their tab escape, and you're like, oh, I guess I'm dead now. So, going for that is risky, but if Line pulls it off, that'll be the match right there and then.
See if he can indeed pull it off. So far, will be the first set of this matchup between Team Timeout and Paramount. So Fighter versus Kung Fu Master already. Nick forced to use his tab escape. This is not going to be looking good for him. However, we'll see him dish out quite a bit of damage instead as well. But Line still in it, of course, does have that tab escape to his name. So he's still safe for now. Nick, of course, at 100% HP, but he does get the catch. So here's the damage. Speaking of the damage, 40%, make that 34%. Nick, where's your HP? He might even close this one out. 9%, 2%, and done.
Oh, wow. This is what I wanted to see. This is the Soul Fighter. This is what I've been waiting for like a year, and it's finally happened. That's the danger when you can't. Nick knew he was in trouble there. Nick absolutely knew that he was in trouble there. The counters have this tiny window in between them where you can't do anything. That's why he was running away. Line saw this, and Lightning Fist is, well, it's called Lightning Fist for a reason, lads. It's really it's really quick. You want to try to not get hit by it, but he got between the counters and immediately he even preempted it. He was like, I'm going to catch you, by using his focus chi before even hitting him. And the Froststorm as well. They got the full ticks, got the full amount of the Dragon Fury damage, and it was a lot. If he crit even more, I'm fairly certain he wouldn't have needed to launch Nick at all. Very well played. What a quick match. Probably the quickest we've had today so far.
And with that, they will be having a point lead over their opponents. Of course, it's not going to be over just yet. The next 1v1 is coming up shortly, and it is going to be between Hangetsu on the Destroyer for Team Paramount and Fijin on the Kung Fu Master instead for the side of Timeout. So we've seen how strong Destroyers have been in, of course, especially as of late with the changes, the recent changes, but considering the fact that Team Paramount doesn't quite seem to be on point today, you think Hangetsu will step up to the challenge and finally bring this one to a 1-1?
It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be very, very tough. But especially with the way that things have been going thus far, you know, it's not gonna be a great matchup in any case. But Fijin as well has proven himself to be pretty good. So already starting off with a decent amount of damage. However, the guard break knee onto Fijin already back into Ember Stomp. Hangetsu didn't quite get the Stone Shield tech chase and gets flying slammed for his troubles.
Ooh, does pop that gusto. He still has persistence. However, second one is available, of course, for Fijin as well. And with Typhoon now being expended as well, this is not looking too good for Hangetsu. Potentially here with Rising Dragon connecting, he might be forced to use it outright, but instead he's going to be launched up into the air. A lot of damage will come his way. He waits out the Ember Stomp instead, so we'll look for another opening with that follow, but however, we'll see the KD come in instead. The stun, the Searing Palm, and the launch. This is gonna be it for Hangetsu potentially here, especially since Fijin is on point. So Timeout taking a 2-0 lead.
That was skillfully executed by Fijin. The way that he played that was immaculate. he did something that I personally do on my Kung Fu Master and that I really, really value, that I think a lot of Kung Fu Masters don't. Flurry is really good. It is a 30-second cooldown ability. It makes you invulnerable for 2 seconds, basically, and does a lot of damage. And it procs triple kick. He used it, and it absolutely benefited him during that persistence window. And as well afterwards, Hangetsu wasn't quite ready for the leg sweep because Fijun had already procced the triple kick. He already had it ready, or the firestorm kick, my apologies. He knocked him down with a leg sweep instantly into the firestorm kick. Unavoidable, mind you. You can't really dodge that if it's done properly. And then, well, the searing palm maneuvers was so good. He got him to 7 stacks. For those that don't know, searing palm, it stacks. It goes up to 8 stacks. When you get up to the 8th stack, the opponent gets stunned. He left him at 7 stacks when he rolled, and then caught him with his basic gap closer that does pitiful damage and no crowd control. But because it was the 8th tick of searing palm, he got a stun onto Hangetsu. So it was the perfect tech chase as a result. We see this a lot, but we don't mention it that much because it's not that easy to do, but it's so effective. That was so beautifully played by Fijin. Timeout now in a very, very good spot. And they even have a little bit of leeway for if they perchance lose this 3 versus 3.
Because at the very least, for the side of Paramount, they do have a composition that should favor them, considering what's considered meta right now. You have that Destroyer. They do have the Warlock for those resets, and Nick has been playing pretty well, just seems like not quite on the same level as their opponent. So Timeout will potentially see actually Line open things up again as that Soul Fighter, or do you think we're going to have a different approach coming out of him?
It's a strong opener, for sure. If you can, because you have so many options as a Soul Fighter, you can opt to start in a 4 stance and try to get a Glacial Beam onto somebody. That's an instant 2-second stun. If they launch you immediately afterwards with the Ice Build, then that's a lot of damage that you could have avoided if you had Tab Escape. So either you take damage or you use your Tab Escape. Alternatively, could opt for a Lightning Fist instead. But either way, opening it up with a Soul Fighter is a fairly safe way to do it. And it will be that way. Don't know about opening up as a Soul Fighter against the Warlock, but time will tell how that one fares.
We'll see, as Radio's going to be the one to come out here for Team Paramount. On that Warlock, as he said, will look to, of course, swing things in his team's favor. Paramount really need the win on the board if they are to still keep their tournament dreams alive. And so far, we'll see actually Sanctum being popped down. We do see the Destroyer come in with a lot of damage, but instead, it's going to be Radio that gets popped up for rather down to 42%. That was so dirty. I get to try to come in with that Fury and execute damage instead, but nope, was all about Team Timeout instead.
Oh, Darian came in with much the same idea and was far more successful, it seems. Linne now already has his health boost. That is such a disgusting combination. Lightning Fist to close the gap into Howling Blast. You can't block, and the Wall of Radio is just gone at the beginning of the game. Team Timeout have certainly picked up slack. Absolutely.
And even Nick, barely having playtime, coming in with those assists, has been dropping low, even beneath 50%, really. And now will still be Linne in play here for Team Timeout, showing us the strength of that Soul Fighter here as Hangetsu. Only having his persistence, we'll see what he's going to be able to do with it, as he will pop it now out of any defensive options. So that's Stone Shield, so we'll see Linne still in the arena for 6 seconds, and now finally we'll have Hangetsu find an opening, but with 2 seconds he will be timed out. Tab Escape was used just to make sure he sets up a safe entryway for Fijin instead.
As well as recover the 5% health that it gives, because he'll most likely have it back by the next time he comes in. Now Fijin opening up onto Nick in this mirror match that you don't want to...
Nice knowing you.
Disgusting. That damage, that execute damage, and the best part is guaranteed because of the way that Fijin played that by actually using the Falling Star the aerial finisher of Kung Fu Master that basically no one uses ever. It guaranteed all four ticks of the execute. And now Hangetsu, faced with an impossible task.
It's gonna be coming down to straight up heroics out of him if he is to somehow get the win on the board here. And even at that, that would be not only one of the biggest comebacks, but also just a 2-2 scoreline. So still such a tough ask out of Team Paramount. Now out of focus will have persistence actually being used from the side of Hangetsu with the assist coming through instead. Over from Team Timeout, it's going to be all too safe, all too easy for them. Just need pretty much one more potential opening onto Hangetsu. However, with that gust being available, it's not going to be over just yet, but it's just a matter of time, Barney.
Oh, as well with the the insane damage that Soul Fighter now has access to, far more consistently, mind you. I mean, yeah, okay, don't get deflected. Step one to having a successful game, but at this stage, Hangetsu will take everything he can. Linne still in with still, you know, second win still available. Focus Chi will be back up in 5 seconds. That burst window is up so frequently now, and Howling Blast is up every 18 seconds. Hangetsu, he needs to play around his gust if he's going to survive, because he can use that when he's knocked down. He can't use persistence when he's knocked down. The safe damage, the Frost Storm coming out as well, looking for it. The Ember Stomp does prevent Hangetsu from taking too much. However, without his gust available and only persistence, if Linne plays this perfectly, or indeed if Fijin comes in, or Darian even, if anyone plays this perfectly and keeps Hangetsu knocked down, he is going to really suffer.
I mean, if you're Team Timeout, you go for the style points, right? You want to get that 100% HP finish, maybe instead, but you got to play it safe. That's what you really need to look out for, as we do see persistence now being popped by Hangetsu. Let's stall things out long enough for Gus to be back up and available. However, second one now forced on both sides, as Gus was used to. And with the ultimate coming through, we actually do see Linne dropping down to 52% assists, not available outside of this one, coming out of Fijin. And now with the ultimate, gonna be the kill secured for the side of Team Timeout.
The interesting thing to note there is that Linne did get caught out and was inside the very powerful Destroyer ultimate, but because he has so much more health, it looked like it did far less than it should have. That did the intended amount of damage, and if Linne had not had his health boosted, he would probably be dead, if not close to dead. What can I say? The wonders of Soul Fighter.
It's just so lovely to actually see. Even you can tell by your expressions how happy you are to finally see these Soul Fighters come through, as we will have Linne still keeping that Soul Fighter dream alive for now, as they will advance through that losers bracket. And as said, a lot is on the line. Congratulations for Paramount for making it this far, but unfortunately for them, their performance today compared to their last performance in the first preliminary tournament has been a little more lacking. So fortunately for Team Timeout, they still keep their dreams alive for now, as they will face off against the loser between, I do believe, Bad Intentions and Team Papiano. So that's going to be a tough one as that too. But if Linne can keep up this performance alongside the rest of his team, it's still going to be a close one.
But this is now the one we have been waiting for. Bad Intentions versus Papiano. Fated rematch that we have been, well, some maybe have been dreading, but this is going to be interesting to see how Papiano play this, considering that they are down their Warlock and instead have Jiro on that Kung Fu Master. I mean, in terms of player skill, it's probably an equivalent trade. In terms of class trading, it's probably a bit worse than they would have liked. But so far, we have seen Zay be on a complete, just dominating streak. I guess that's, you know, it could be, actually, you know what, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that because Caster's Curse will kick in instantly. I'm saving that for later. Point is, they've been doing very, very well. We've seen Luki as well in the first preliminary tournament, where at first, he struggled against Mr. B. He got beaten out by 3% or something. They were sent to the losers bracket. They came back up, And actually, when Bad Intentions were beaten out, and they had a rematch then, they still beat them out. And Luki proved that, you know, his Destroyer is actually very, very worthy, because if he can beat Mr. B, the person who's everyone, you know, to whom everyone's mind goes to when they think of rank 1 Destroyer, you're in for a good ride, I feel.
And that's such an interesting story as well. Bad Intentions coming in last year, having Luki instead of Mr. B, perhaps being swapped out in favor of Mr. B because he's been playing that Destroyer to such a high level and they wanted that Destroyer in their team. And now facing off against each other instead on the other side. Luki coming in with his team, with Zay being on fire right now still, and even Jiro performing really, really well. It's such a cool matchup, and as you said, they've been the only team to knock out Bad Intentions twice in the tournament. This is the revenge match to speak of, so it's gonna be a spicy one. You better get your popcorn ready or whatever snack or whatever drinks you have lined up, because it's gonna be the first 1v1. It's gonna be Mr. B versus a Destroyer versus Blade Master Papiano versus Bad Intentions.
Oh, it's so exhilarating, and it hasn't even started yet. There's so much anticipation. The Blitz opener is there. It's a very bad start for Zay, but he manages to actually get out of there without using his second win. Using it there would have been very, very detrimental to him, but now the Sword Shroud is available to him. Trying to maybe get some damage onto him. The Searing Slash gets it deflect onto the ramp. The resist prevents Mr. B from actually getting stunned, but now forced the gust out of him at least. Zay getting ground gamed pretty hard here. Mr. B, he knows this matchup, but he misses the Blitz follow-up. There comes the Soaring Falcon. It's a daze, not a stun. It'll have a much shorter cooldown. Mr. B definitely needs to be aware of this. But now, second win forced out of Zay. He needs to be very, very careful. Mr. B, no escapes on him. If Zay manages to wait out long enough for the Soaring Falcon to come back up, Mr. B could just straight up die. But he knows this. He's playing back. He's being very, very cautious, very careful. He won't make it in time for Gust. There it is. Does take a bit of damage. And Zay, unfortunately, gets caught out. He needs to be very, very careful. Mr. B is trying his best to not grab Zay because he knows the Flock of Blades is available. He might not even need it. Will the pile driver be enough?
2%!
Just barely! Just barely!
Zay even using the shoulder charge. Never mind. Typhoon used preemptively by Mr. B gets him to win instead. But whew, that was potentially actually looking dangerous for Mr. B, because after he used Gust and forced out the Ember Stomp as well, if Zay didn't quite use that tap escape as early as he did there at the end, that could have very well gone his way. So really well played by Mr. B, granting them the first point on the board. Again, this is such an important matchup. These two teams really kind of you know, rivaling each other right now. We'll see who can make it out in the end, because next up, I do believe it's going to be Ryuki versus Luki. So Assassin versus Destroyer, and two previous ex-teammates, of course. We'll see how they're going to be pairing up against each other, because we haven't seen Ryuki versus Luki last time. It was pretty much a lot of Mr. B versus Luki, a lot of that Destroyer Mirror matchup when it came down to it with these two teams, and they both should really be accustomed to their tendencies and their strategies and their approaches when it comes to those respective matchups, I would say.
However, it is important to note that when they were teammates, Luki was still on his Blade Master. If Ryuki doesn't have first-hand experience against his Destroyer, this could be a very, very quick match. It probably will go quite long. Both classes have 2 escape skills. It's important to have them available when you most need them. Of course, Assassin has a much harder time abusing persistence than some of the other classes. They don't really have as many knockdowns available to them, and they don't have that many ways of disabling defenses without sacrificing the insane damage of Poison Breath. But we'll have to see how it goes. Luki versus Ryuki. In we go.
And already, actually, Luki having a good time in the opener, forcing out that stealth, and Ryuki, as you said, perhaps not being too experienced with Luki's Destroyer, might be in trouble. However, now opting in to use that high wire is going to go for those knockdowns. As you said, the go-to strategy against the Destroyer. Yes, you can have persistence on top of that Gust, but you're not really going to have as much in terms of dealing with those knockdowns. So now Flower being down for Ryuki is going to go for another KD follow-up and that Poison Breath damage. So He's been able to dance around his opponent, still has the flower, and that stealth should come back up soon enough, but persistence still available for Luki too.
Yes, and he's actually opted for the targeted drag instead of the area of effect one, which is a little bit strange, but you know, Ryuki is it's a little bit even, I would say. Gust will be up before Lotus of Escape, but Stealth definitely needs to be careful as well. Can you stop honking? I'm busy here. I don't know what's happening today. Ryuki now needs to be very careful because that guard break knee is so strong, and Luki predicted that very well. Played around it, managed to avoid as well. He probably has the Scorching Strike available. He needs to be careful not to don't just walk into the landmine, mate. It's a red AoE indicator for a reason. You should avoid it.
Well,
but he's still in a good spot.
That did buy, at the very least, Ryuki enough time to get his Lotus of Escape back up. Just managed to land that stun, and now the high wire, however, no other defensive options available for Ryuki. Poison Breath doing quite a bit of damage and granting some HP. That is not what you want. That is exactly not what you want. As Stealth will come back up, saving Ryuki for now, but Gus is still available for Luki. Does he get the opening? Does he manage to find to get a daze off of it at that too? Because he is dropping pretty low, 24% HP now available. Still doesn't use it, so he does have those defensive options. But if he loses his HP, it doesn't matter if you have them available.
This is so tense. Oh no, the trade is not in his favor.
Ooh, the Gust was used too, and now web down on the ground, 7%. He's KD'd, and that will secure the kill for Ryuki. Again, it does not matter if you get knocked down as the destroyer, you are gonna be out, especially when you lose so much HP. You trade in that resource, that all too precious resource of your HP percentage, and you just can't really play that defensively at that point. You gotta step it up, and you gotta seize an opportunity off of those defensive options.
I don't know if the targeted drag was intentional or not. If it wasn't, that I feel that hurts. That cuts me deep. But still, it was looking very dominant. But Luki, he just didn't find the opening that he was looking for. Ryuki managed to avoid everything that he tried to throw his way, and as well, because of the reactionary tab, he wasn't expecting Ryuki to pull out even more knockdowns. Assassin not typically known to do that. Usually it's stuns and dazes, but apparently this time around, Shadow Slash has a pretty short cooldown of 18 seconds, and so does Landmine. So you really need to be very careful with that persistence, or Luki should have used it earlier. But hindsight is 20/20 anyway, so you know. Bad Intentions in a good spot, 2-0. Strong.
And now this is where it really counts, because with the free versus free setup coming up next, Bad Intentions, if they win this one, they advance through the winner's bracket, get one step closer to that spot being secured for themselves for the finals, or rather for the finals that will be happening on the 26th of August, whereas Team Papiano now need to step it up and bring it back their way, because with a win here on the board on the free department, it will only equalize things in terms of the scoreline 2-2, so it's not going to be over just yet. And considering the fact that Bad Intentions now seem to be on point, we've talked about how last preliminary tournament, you know, Tenna has been a good boy, has been studying, and luckily for him, and the good side for him is the fact that he took apparently passed all his exams with good marks, so congratulations to that. But now, no more excuses. They need to step it up. They need to show us why Bad Intentions is one of the best teams in Europe, if not the best.
Yes, but the 3 versus 3s are where things really went south for Bad Intentions in the first preliminary tournament. If it goes the same way, well, then it's going to be a rematch between Luki and Ryuki later on. But for now, Jiro leading the charge. We'll see how his substitution for Fragola will affect this matchup.
And it's going to be very important for him to really secure a few kills off of something like a Flying Slam, or just coming in with that Fighting Spirit, or anything else in between. But so far, it's a read coming out of him to make sure Ryuki is actually going to get the assist coming out of Tenna with that Thrall, potentially with those resets, but instead having actually Zay coming in too. It's not going to be looking too hot for Bad Intentions, but at the very least, with both of these assists out of the way, things will be somewhat equalized, but now catches the stun. Ooh, we do have that iron plating coming. We're in the nick of time, but that could have been so dangerous.
That could have been. But Jiro is playing out of his mind already. His reactions to the things that Ruki is pulling are literally milliseconds before they need to be there. Ooh. Now, Zay, a bit of a tough spot. The flurry actually catches Ruki out of there. He tries to go for the tremor, but Ruki doesn't want any of that. This is looking to be very bad, but now caught out by Tenna. No second win available for him now. He needs to be very, very careful. Ryuki's still getting hit. He needs to be very careful. 8%. Oof. This is not the start you want for Team Bad Intentions. Oh, Jiro, how are you doing this so early into the game? Chill out. Leave some for your teammates.
I saw what you did there, but the God predictions were there for Jiro, as he does get the flying slam too, so things looking so great right now for Team Papiano, as Gust being expanded by Mr. B. However, with Amber Stomp coming into play, it should keep him safe for now, trying to get something done, but so far, Jiro has been on point, does have that second win available still, so we'll see when he opts in to use it. So far, still playing it safe, waits it out, will be able to find that KD. However, persistence assets still being available for Mr. B should keep him safe for a while longer.
Yes, but Jiro is keeping on him as best he can. He's looking for an opening, maybe a knockdown opening, but he actually gets dazed by the guard break knee. In comes persistence. He doesn't want any of that, but in comes Luki now against the wall. Luckily, just in the nick of time, saves himself from that awful situation that would have been. Now, Mr. B grabbed, opts to gust away from that one. Fury coming in, pulls Mr. B out of that Ember Stomp. He does have the Shadow build. He's trying his hardest to do as much damage as he can. Now, Tenna is going to be very, very careful there. Uh-oh, he's coming. Bastion will keep him safe from the wall for now. That's fine. That's fine, but oh my goodness.
Okay. Luki launched up into the air, 42%. Ooh, time distortion now, of course, also being used. Gets the relaunch! That is...
so careful. Oh, the Sword Shroud from Zay just in the nick of time. Also, Tenna, your health is disappearing very rapidly. You might want to get on that. Jiro comes back in, but he has no second win, so you need to be very, very careful here.
Frolic goes out. This is going to be so close. This matchup has been so intense as Mr. B is back into the fray. Does have all of the different options available. Jiro still alive for now, but without that second win, it's going to be very dangerous for him. Luki coming in with a potential save as Jiro does go down, and Team Papiano now down a member. It's going to be such a tough ask of them. However, Ryuki is pretty low himself, so it's not quite impossible. Persistence now being popped by Mr. B, who's looking to play aggressive. Doesn't have any other important cooldown left, and as a result, he's going to opt to tag out for now. He still has 2 assists, so definitely a good call coming out of Bad Intentions.
Yes, if Zay manages to pop Ryuki upon re-entry or as an assist, then it'll definitely be very beneficial for them because he still has 2 assists, and no one wants to get wallbanged with the Fighting Spirit. But this is their round to lose. Luki with no assists left.
Uh-huh.
All right.
I mean, Tenna replies in fashion too, but was it just a bait, Zay?
Just a bait, just a bait.
Getting potential return damage here was good, but now being launched up into the air, instead it's going to be the leech. However, he did have that second win instead, does manage to stay safe with it. Disengages for now, but this is still looking so dangerous for Team Papiano. Bad Intentions now, still an advantage, but Mr. B, having all that health, having his ultimate too, does not have any other tag out left available. So he's going to be in it for the long run.
But Luki in a bad spot already. Manages to avoid the drag with the continuing Typhoon. But now, Mr. B applies in much the same way. Searing Strike avoids Mr. B's Scorching Strike, and the ultimate is coming in. Luki is forced to use Persistence, does not want to take that. Does get the opening onto Mr. B, but now with Tenna coming in, he needs to be very, very careful because he has no escapes. This could be absolutely devastating. But in comes Zay to save the day. Almost save the day. He gets knocked really, really far back.
Assassinated. Ryuki coming in with his ultimate just makes such quick work of Luki, and as a result, it's just going to be down to Zay, the birthday boy. Can he somehow do it? No, this should be the answer, as he does not have that second win left available. Mr. B, he just needs to finish the job, slams it down onto the ground, but no, doesn't secure the kill just yet, 5%, but for how much longer can Zay hold on? As he is down to 3% HP. It's big that too.
Oh, come on. Okay, there we go. There we go. Searing Strike. Finished it. Quite anticlimactic. They had a chance. If they had managed to destroy Ryuki when he was still in, that might have been avoided entirely. So, clean 4-0 sweep for Bad Intentions. Returning the favor to Papiano for the first preliminary tournament. Now, Papiano, again, they're still in it. And with how dominant they've been thus far, and in the first preliminary tournament, I expect that they'll probably still have a pretty good shot at being able to go into the finals. But it depends on how the next few fights go. There's still a long way to go, and tomorrow as well. Should Bad Intentions lose against one of the other teams and get sent to the losers bracket, they'll have to face off against Papiano again. It seems like a never-ending cycle, and eventually one of these people will be eliminated properly. But until then, I guess Positive Vibes versus Magic Warriors will be up next.
Actually, I do believe that was the last matchup of the day. We will be continuing on tomorrow with the next match. As you said, it should be Positive Vibes versus Magic Warriors. Another very interesting one, because Magic Warriors, I do think, are on the up and up. Their performance today has been very impressive, to say the least, with big plays coming out of Empathy, as well as Glacier, of course. So it's been looking really interesting. It's going to be a close call as to who is going to manage to get a win in the end. Of course, very important matchup was won there by Bad Intentions, managing to get a win over Papiano, and in what fashion as well, with a 4-0 win. Of course, it's not a true rematch, if you will, since Mr. Fragola couldn't quite play for Papiano. Instead, it was Jiro, who did have quite a few good plays at the start of the tag match. However, it wasn't quite good enough. So we'll see what Papiano can do starting tomorrow. Of course, a lot is on the line. I said, for all these teams, this is the last chance for them to qualify for the finals tournament, which will be going on the 26th of August in Leicester at the ESL UK studio. We already have Goblin Spiders as well as Team Bice secured from the first preliminary tournament. And not only will they secure themselves a spot in said tournament, they will also have a chance at a lot of cash prizes and the opportunity to represent Europe at the World Championships.
But still, very well played to all the teams here today. Commiserations to those that did not make it through and to those that were eliminated. But you'll still probably have a chance later on, a few months down the line. But you came, you participated, you showed that you are capable of doing so. It just shows that the level of skill has actually increased quite substantially, where before Bad Intentions and the old Ugly Intentions were essentially the only ones that were truly competitive. Now everyone's giving each other a run for their money, and that's exactly what we want to see, because our ultimate goal is to win the World Championship. So this is all just practice for that.
And you also cannot discount the fact that the previous, formerly known as Team XDDDD, now coming in as Goblin Spiders, they were one of the other top teams, now being the team to beat for this year. Really, it's going to be very interesting to see how these teams will perform in those finals tournaments. But of course, the North American second preliminary will be happening on later today over on the channel. Make sure to follow Twitch on all of the social platforms to stay in touch with all the news on over on the YouTube channel on Blade and Soul. You can also find the VOD of the tournament if you wish to catch up with any lost matches or any matches you didn't quite get to watch. A lot of interesting ones have happened today, a lot of quick ones, but a lot of spicy ones at that. Of course, tomorrow we will be back with day 2 of the Europe second preliminary. at 9 a.m. PDT or 4 p.m. UTC. My name's Bryn Brunch. I've been joined by Barney, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. And definitely make sure to check out the North American side too. See you then.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into our stream. If you enjoyed this, be sure to give us a follow right here on Twitch if you're watching on Twitch, if you're watching over on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of the action, as we'll be uploading all of the videos over there afterwards. And of course, follow us at esports, at BNS Esports, so that you don't miss out on any of the esports news. Now, before we head off to the NA tournament, we're going to give a little host to ZL Antrax, who you guys have all seen in the tournament today. So give a good enemy raid to the wonderful Xantrax, and we'll see you guys later tonight for the NA tournament.